And I believe we are
You're
live.
live.
Good Saturday morning. Today is July 25th, 2026. And it is a furiously raining morning here in North Carolina, but much needed rain, especially for our garden.
Yes.
Very much needed because it has been a drought for sure. If you guys could, I see some comments. Welcome. Good to be back. It's been a little too long since we did the last coffee talk. If you could just let us know if we sound okay and if we look clear.
Yeah.
And we'll get that out of the way. I know it's annoying,
Yeah.
but I just want
It's
to make sure I'm
annoying.
not
We want to
talking
make
to
sure
the
that way we're
wind.
not.
I know the comments are a little delayed.
Yeah. Sound is good.
All right. We are ready to rock and roll. Well, I think today, obviously, welcome. You can put your questions or comments in the chat, and we will make sure we get all those wherever you are watching. And before we do that, I think the elephant in the room today, if you keep up with the peptide space, is the PCAC, I guess PCAC, whatever you want to call it, met on Thursday and Friday of this week to basically decide or give their opinions about whether peptides should be moved from category 2, or the majority of the peptides that we use in the world today, from category 2 to category 1. And I believe out of the first 7, was it 7 that they looked at, they agreed to move 6 of them. However, a lot of that, I think, my understanding of the process, and I'm not a lawyer, I'm definitely not a politician. My understanding of the process is that they still have a ways to go. This was kind of like the initial hearing, preliminary hearing on whether to even put this in front of the FDA, to now where the FDA will have the final decision. Seems like, based on the current administration, that they will. Who knows what will happen? But it was interesting to me, and I'll go ahead and for anyone that doesn't understand that, what this means for those specific peptides is, does not mean they are FDA approved. It does not mean they are officially drugs or anything like that now. What it does mean is that they are basically on a list right now that considers them category 2, which means that they cannot be legally manufactured by a compounding pharmacy in the United States. Compounding pharmacies exist to make medications that people cannot get otherwise via a typical drug manufacturer. So that's tons of different medications that are necessary to be made by compounding pharmacies because they're not produced at a higher level by some of the bigger drug manufacturers. And the rule is now those however many 13, 16 peptides, I forget how many it is, are on that category 2 list, which means it's illegal for compounding pharmacies to make them, or strongly advised against. The hope, at least in the peptide world, is that those peptides get moved from category 2 to category 1, which would mean that compounding pharmacies can now make them. They are not FDA approved, but compounding pharmacies can legally make them. And that means the doctors can prescribe them to their patients and have them fulfilled from a compounding pharmacy. Now, you might think that's a good thing. You might think that's a bad thing. I think at the end of the day, a rising tide lifts all ships. So, of course, I want people to be able to access whatever they want to put in their bodies. And do I think that they should always have to have a prescription to do that? No. Like, I think we should have sovereignty over our own bodies and do what they do. But I do think, in terms of getting more awareness to peptides, I think on the whole, it is a good thing. Basically, what happened this week is that they met and looked at BPC, TB500, KPV, MOTS-c, DSIP, Epitalon, and CMAX to decide whether those should get decategorized from category 2 to category 1. They voted yes on everything, although I think the votes were pretty close. There was like 14 people on the panel or whatever. The votes were pretty close, but they did vote yes on everything except DSIP, which
is crazy.
I found very interesting. I mean, at the end of the day, as long as we have ways to get peptides, albeit through pharmaceutical means or ulterior means, whatever it is, I'm all for either of those things. And so even if they will have voted no on all of these, I think the ultimate answer is, like, for our corner of the world, it probably doesn't matter that much unless they really got aggressive in trying to stop people, which it doesn't seem like they're doing right now. However, I did think it was weird, out of all of those peptides, that they denied one that has more human data around it than most of the others. DSIP actually might have more human data around it than all of those. Going back to the 1980s.
Like, you look at DSIP versus like MOTS-c, like,
yeah,
there's MOTS-c is great, but like, you can have a lot worse side effects with MOTS-c than you can with DSIP.
1000%.
But I think there's reasons why I think DSIP is going to compete with pharmaceutical products,
Well,
and DSIP helps with opioid addiction.
before I
Am
within
I
the
getting in
first
trouble?
I was gonna say before in the first 10 minutes we put our channel at risk even more.
Yeah.
I will say this. Last time I read somewhere there was about 35 million Americans addicted to opioids. And that's where I'll leave it at that. And you can infer what you want to from that. But if DSIP somehow, some way was able to help with that, I think
Or
the
maybe they're
conspiracy
going to use
theorists
it
in me.
something with something else. Maybe, or maybe they'll make it
I don't
FDA
know.
approved. I don't know.
I just do think it was, and again, I don't have the ironic part is yesterday I filmed the masterclass on DSIP because I had prepared that this week. We were out of town. I got back this week and something just, I had a few that I wanted to do. I was like, let me do DSIP. I think it was more probably because categorically is a little bit different than the most recent ones that I've done. And I want to kind of move from category to category.
Yeah.
Of peptides that I'm filming for the master class, but I was filming that in the morning yesterday, and so I didn't know I wasn't paying attention to like whether it was or not going to be moved. But I just again it doesn't really matter to me one way or the other. But it is weird. And again, I think if you talk about like safety profile, I'm all for I love MOTS-c.
Oh,
Don't get me wrong, but like MOTS-c, if there's anyone out there that has more anecdotal reports of people using MOTS-c, I would put myself up there with anyone that's heard more about people using MOTS-c.
Mm-hmm.
And it's there's a more than substantial contingent of people that respond badly to it. And again, that doesn't mean I'm against it. I love MOTS-c, but
yeah,
it is interesting out of all of those. The DSIP was the DSIP is so like I've never heard anyone having a bad response to DSIP other than maybe they take it at night or they take it at night and makes them not sleep as good. Yeah. And some people do better taking it in the morning. Mm-hmm. Like it actually does help a lot of people if they take it in the morning sleep better at night. Mm-hmm. Whereas like some people take it at night and it doesn't, like you said, doesn't do anything, or they actually like are a little bit more restless than they would have been.
Yeah. Great for jet lag.
Great for jet lag. I mean, it's weird.
Rhythm.
Well, it's very interesting because when you pair DSIP and Epitalon together, that's like I think either of those
beautiful combination.
Yeah, well, like DSIP is one of those that like it works better with Epitalon more than it works on its own. Like it's one of those. It's like it's kind of like AOD 9604. Mm-hmm. Like on its own, it doesn't really do anything. But if you put it with tesamorelin or growth hormone, you will get like an added benefit.
Yeah,
I think DSIP is
like
better
similar
than
to
AOD.
Like combining like NAD with MOTS-c or 5-amino.
Correct. Yeah, it just has like a little bit of a synergistic effect where if you're trying to address sleep. But anyway, who knows? And I think the next meeting isn't until February of next year where they're looking at some of the other ones. So again, this is going to be more of a long, drawn out, arduous process, as is most things with government, unfortunately. But I think at the end of the day, it's a symbol of the zeitgeist of what's going on right now, which is that peptides are becoming more mainstream. Yeah. Everywhere you go, people are talking about peptides. It's funny, because we just got back from our vacation and you end up talking to strangers at the beach or hotels or whatever. And like everyone's on It's just funny because like everyone's on peptides now and they're like showing you on their phone what they're taking because they don't really know what they do or which ones.
Everybody's like, on the Wolverine stack.
Everyone is taking
NAD, Wolverine.
It's like Clo and Retta and Tessa.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's on. Clo plus Retta and Tessa.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I'm all for, but it's just funny too. Cause a lot of these people, they might as well be talking in Mandarin, because they don't understand what they're on. They're like, hey, is this a good thing if you know about peptides? So it's kind of funny. I think that's where what I probably fail to realize is like how many people are taking peptides that actually have no idea why they're taking them or what they're taking them. It's just like,
or they just hear
my friend told me or my brother told me.
Yeah. What did somebody ask? Like, what's the best peptide for like longevity, like overall like health? And that was a question you got asked a couple of times. I don't know. You were in the pool. I was purposely.
Well, it's funny.
I was not getting in the pool because I did not want to engage.
Well, I guess in one way it's good because like 2 years ago, I think if I would have told people what I do, they just are either sketched out or they have no idea what I'm talking about. And now it's people are like, oh yeah, I know what that is. So that's pretty cool.
It's very true.
To see, I think it symbolizes kind of like hopefully people taking control more of their health. But anyway, I think that's the news of the day, so to speak, is peptides seem to be moving in the right direction. I did think it was weird about the DSIP thing, like out of all
Yeah.
of them, that would have been the one. But hey, I mean, it is what it is. I don't get to make the rules. That's for sure. And I don't ever plan on making the rules. So anyway, any other hot takes, hot topics before we jump in?
No. Coffee made my cappuccino good. And it's actually, you made it like match my outfit. You knew I was going to wear brown.
That was 1000% by design. I looked in the cabinet and I was like, I know Taylor's going to wear brown, which I didn't. And I know you want a brown mug, which I didn't. But it all worked out.
It all worked out.
Maybe subconsciously, I telepathically knew that.
I was actually going to wear a white shirt and then I got my makeup on it. So I switched to the brown one.
I can never wear white, although I'm wearing it today. Let's see if I can get through today's episode without staining my white shirt with coffee or water. I guess there's worse things you could stain it with than water.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Oh, the cappuccino. How are those? I made those with those sugar-free flavor syrups. Is it good? Is it similar? Is it?
So it's interesting. How many packs did you put in with this?
Just one. I put half of it into the espresso and half of it into the milk.
Which is what I did. But you know what's interesting? Like, I wish you would taste it, but you won't taste it, even though I keep asking you to taste it. So I got these
I'll taste it at some point, but
sugar-free coffee syrups from, what did I say? It was like Paco. What did I say it was called?
Poca
is what it's called. And they're sugar-free. They're sweetened with monk fruit and allulose, and they're organic. But it seems like there's a lot in a pack, but it's actually not that sweet. But maybe it's because I've been like putting actual sugar in my coffee, which I know is not good. And I'm trying to stop. That's why I got those. And
is it weird if I like sucralose sometimes better than regular sugar?
Well, when we were like in Italy, I was putting like sucralose and sugar into the coffee because sometimes I think it's sweeter and I don't need as much.
What will kill you faster is the question, I guess.
In my mind, I don't drink alcohol. I don't smoke weed anymore. I feel like I can have like coffee with something sweet.
I'm not saying for you. I'm just saying
I know.
It's kind of like pick your poison.
I know.
But who knows? Maybe it's not even that bad. I used to always be like, oh, well, sucralose is bad because it's a chemical sweetener.
You know what I don't like?
But
I don't like stevia.
I like stevia, but I know there's probably like 25% of people hate stevia.
Yeah. And then I think monk fruit's more tolerable. I like monk fruit, but then sometimes I feel like it hurts my stomach. If it's not
if it's the erythritol that's in it.
Yeah. Well, like the monk fruit in our oatmeal doesn't.
Yeah, because I made sure that doesn't have erythritol in it.
Yeah.
It's just pure monk fruit extract.
Yeah. And it's just pure monk fruit extract in that.
If people tasted pure monk fruit extract, they would actually be pleasant.
Good.
What?
It's like very, I don't know. I feel like when we were tasting them, it was kind of bitter.
Oh, well, that's because you were tasting like
the actual powder.
No, you were tasting like 100 times more than like.
Oh. Okay.
But I'm saying like if you got a pure monk fruit extract into coffee or into like an oatmeal, like I have with my oatmeal, it's actually really good. It just is like very, very concentrated because it's way sweeter than stevia. Yeah. But if you get the right amount, the flavor profile, in my opinion,
and it's like a powder form. Like it looks like the consistency of like cornstarch powder.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying is like you have to be, when you're using the pure extract, you have to be very careful as opposed to like the Lakanto that you would get with the erythritol that's like been diluted down with the sugar alcohol to make it 1-to-1 with sugar. But if you get the pure extract, you just have to be very conscious of like the ratio that you're using to the product that's in. Yeah. And I think the profile most people would find very much closer to sugar, maybe even a little bit of it. It's almost like a little bit of like a hint of brown sugar in there, which makes it good for oatmeal, coffee, things like that. But it's just one of those things like the extract, you have to be very careful because it's like it's very hard to get the right amount because it's such a small amount into the whatever. But I don't know how we got talking about that. But anyway,
I don't either. Sorry, guys.
Let's talk about some peptides, some HRT, and anything else you guys want to talk about. All right. First question of the day, Hunter. I'd like to get your thoughts on running.
Are you going to put the questions up on the thing?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me because I always forget. I'd like to get your thoughts on running Tessa and IPA year-round at 1 milligrams, 200 micrograms 3 times a week versus cycling. Well, there is no right or wrong answer to that. However, if you were to do that year-round, let's just say that you did 5 days on, 2 days off for 3 months on, 3 months off. I'm not going to do the math in my head publicly, but you probably end up laying it about the same spot as you would if you did that. And so I think you're probably giving yourself enough breaks in between the week with that yes, you could do that for sure. And I would have no problem with that. Would I maybe take a couple weeks off just to see how you do? What would be interesting to see is like how someone would respond to that versus doing 5 days on, 2 days off.
Yeah.
Because there's more chronic exposure with 5 days on, 2 days off versus the Monday, Wednesday, Friday if you were to do it. So
I would also, I don't know, this is just what I would do is also maybe break it up and rotate MK777.
well, you could do that. I think there's enough out there.
And with that too, like just to rotate.
Yeah, maybe the months off, you just do MK777 for like 1 month just to have a little bit of a different stimuli.
Yeah.
To do it. The question is like all these things are growth hormone, peptides or growth hormone releasing hormones. Does switching the compound allow you to get the benefits but maintain the sensitivity so that like say you did 1 month of MK777, even though it's a GHRP small molecule, but because it's different, does that end up like when you go back to Tessa and IPA, is it like you'd never left? Probably more so than not, but I don't think obviously we don't have data to confirm that. I will say this, while we were out of town, we brought tirzepatide with us because Taylor's been taking tirzepatide instead of retatrutide. Going back to a low dose of tirzepatide after being on retatrutide is just like, it really, like you would think, okay, GLP, GIP, like you would think going back to it is like, but it really is. It's almost like it's a new compound that you've never taken again, in my experience. And again, maybe that's just me. I don't think everyone's going to experience that. But anyway. But yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
Zionic, what's up, dude? He said able to locate 5-amino aliquot, 20 mLs, 50 milligrams per ml. Going to run a hybrid oral injection. Yeah, I like that. It's a little bit different than the lyophilized version of 5-amino. So the dosing's different. I don't claim, and I'm not smart enough to know the difference of how those are made. But it does seem to be different than the lyophilized version. Colleen says, thoughts on GHK degrading the other peptides on Glow and Clostak. That is not true.
Nope.
You can look up my video on it, but there's like tons of people that have made videos and shown chemical assay analysis of that to show that that's not true. So hopefully that is a myth that will continue to fade into the darkness. See, we got all the lovely people in the house. Thoughts on PEG MGF efficacy? Anecdotally, I will say it is incredible for injury healing. Is it spectacular for muscle building? Not in my experience. However, I think it can be efficacious for muscle building as well if you inject post-workout into the area that you train to increase localized IGF. I think, I'll let you talk in a second. I think here's where people... Okay, so we have this whole thing, like sometimes I kind of rack my brain because we have this whole thing of efficacy. And if you listen to people about peptides, like people in the mainstream will say BPC 157 has zero efficacy whatsoever. And if you were strictly operating from the paradigm of chemicals or clinical studies, you would say, well, they have a point. But for me, I've seen over and over and over and over again, like thousands and thousands of people use BPC and have positive benefit in their life. So if it's placebo, I would say give me more placebo. Now, to the point of PEG MGF, I think from where I stand, what I have heard is that you will have people in the bodybuilding realm say that Cardilax and PG MGF don't do anything. And to the point, like maybe for the bodybuilder, they don't. But anecdotally, for the average person walking around that just has some sore joints and just has a soft tissue injury or whatever, to me, PEG MGF does wonders. But again, like, does that apply to a bodybuilder that's like completely different? I don't know. And again, it goes back to the clinical literature standpoint. Like we don't have RCTs on PEG MGF. So anyway, I'd say PEG MGF very efficacious. I don't have a problem with someone that would say it's not, but like I just am giving you what I have seen, and that's what I've seen. What were you going to say?
Just that when I did use it, for muscle growth, like in my glutes, I do feel like my glutes got a little bit more, like the shape roundedness was a little bit more defined and full, but I mean, could have been the other combinations of other things I was taking to at the time.
Well, that's what I think is like you.
Like, I do think it helped a little. I think it did help with the fullness.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's increasing localized IGF-1.
Yeah.
So I don't.
But like, I don't think bodybuilders are going to notice it. And when I say it helps with fullness, like somebody like me who is just like really examining and like taking photos and checking photos and looking at your body, like I'm gonna notice that. Whereas in like, you know, like somebody, you know, the person walking next to me isn't gonna notice that.
Yeah. Yeah. And so
it's a very slight difference that you'll see.
Well, I think when you talk about efficacy of soft tissue repair compounds, like there is such a vast swath of people with different problems. And so someone could use Clo and Cardilax and PEG-MGF and they'd be like, I feel nothing. And that's a personal experience. I totally believe them. And then I've seen it, people take the same compounds that are destined and doomed to have spinal surgery or whatever, and it means they don't have to have surgery. Like they do it for 8 weeks and they no longer have to have surgery.
Yeah.
Like I've personally witnessed that time and time and time again. And so efficacy, I don't know. Like I saw it work, but it's one of those things. Like I've heard other people poo-poo Cardilax and poo-poo PEG-MGF. Like, oh, that doesn't do anything. And it's like, I don't know, man. Like I've witnessed it in my own life, and maybe that's just the use case of what I've seen. I've talked about before people injecting Cardilax into their face. I don't recommend that. You need to know what you're doing. But I've heard people anecdotally say that that's the greatest thing for skin health ever that they've ever done. So, take for it what you will. We're just out here trying to figure all this stuff out. The chat tool is great. It's my first time for basic questions and research. That's awesome. I am waiting. Well, right now the chat tool has been growing. I think there's like 13 or 14,000 active users on the chat tool. So it seems to be well. I get asked this question a lot of, are you going to make a course or make more courses? I've done courses in the past. I think courses are going to go the way of the dodo bird. Well, I think courses will always be there. Yes. People always want to pay for something to like have certified. What I've noticed is that in the practice of people getting access to information the quickest way possible, having an AI chat function helps people cut to what they need the most. So like a course could be good if someone just wants to sit and binge watch stuff and feel like they accomplished something and take a quiz. Nothing wrong with that. I've taken a lot of courses in my life, not really peptide courses, because I mean, it's just such a new industry, and there's plenty of good peptide courses out there. But I think in terms of the nature of the way people are going to interact with information, I would never have 15,000 people take and complete a course. But what I have seen is 15,000 people using the AI chat tool to get exactly what they need to like build their own plan, put in their lab markers and figure out what they're, what I'm saying is like, it's much more tailored.
I feel guilty like now I would feel guilty trying to make a course now, in the sense of like, we have a coaching group like that you can obviously learn a lot from in there. And then, which I know that's not everybody wants to be inside of the coaching group, but I just feel like, could we go more in depth on a private course and not have to worry about like algorithms? Yes. But then like, sometimes I feel like the information isn't that much different from what we put out on our YouTube content or my old YouTube content.
No, it wouldn't be. I mean, that's why I'm doing master classes. Those are
just like, I feel bad like saying, here, buy this, when the information isn't going to be that much different. Like, how different is the information in the master classes that you're doing versus what you would have in a course, other than like maybe censoring certain verbalages to not get the algorithm upset with you?
Well, at this point, I'm not really doing that. And if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
Like I'm over. And there's been actually a rash of YouTube shutdowns lately.
I would still feel guilty. Like,
well, here's where
people for that.
Yeah, here's where I feel guilty with a course is that in 18 months it's outdated.
Yeah, that's
so. If I film
like
one
the
today,
women's peptide course that I did, like I'm just like, it's so like a year after it came out, it was like outdated. Like retatrutide no one was using retatrutide when I made that course.
Yeah. That's why I think the coaching group is better.
Yes.
Because it's actually an ongoing. That's what I should present it more as that. It's an ongoing course. Because we do a module every single week. And now you look back, we've got over 100 hours of content in there
Yeah.
that anyone can go binge watch. That is the course,
Yeah.
and you can do it on your own time. You can be in the group. You don't even have to interact. You can just be in there for the material. And every week that's what I think is better, is to have a group that is an ongoing teaching group. A lot of people don't run their groups in that way, but if you have a group that's like structured teaching, and then that adds up over time, and then someone can go in. I think people like that more because it's like, oh, I just pay this one-time fee, I get this course, and that's cool. But I think I am more of the opinion of like, stuff is changing so fast, it ends up not being whatever. And then there's also the AI tool, which we have these technologies now that allow us to cut down to the heart of the information. I think AI will more or less it will cut back course consumption. And you're already seeing that in the business world of like, way few people are spending money on courses now because they can get the information that they need for them from an AI tool. Anyway, just my thoughts. Thoughts on running eloralintide versus Cagri with a GLP? Well, I haven't tried eloralintide yet. I do have a bottle of it. I haven't tried it yet. Honestly, been taking tirzepatide the last 3 weeks, and like I do not need any more appetite suppression than I'm getting out of 2.5 milligrams of tirzepatide per week. But I don't know. Anecdotally, I haven't heard from people that eloralintide is that much superior to cagrilintide yet. But again, that's just like very small case reports. So we'll see once we get to critical mass, more people using it.
Have you had anybody report like any of the like dopamine
No
effects yet?
But I've only had a few people because it's still like so hard to find.
So new, yeah.
So we'll see how that goes. It would appear on paper that would have less of an effect on the dopamine than cagrilintide would because it's more selective to the amylin receptor. But we will see. But yeah, I think they could be definitely beneficial to using alongside a GLP if you need more appetite suppression. The question is like, is that the reason that you're using it? I don't think you're going to get any added fat loss beyond the appetite suppression alongside of a GLP. I think the question is, do you want to increase the dose of a GLP? And if no, but you need more appetite suppression, then yes, those could be an option. I think the answer is, if you need more appetite suppression, but you can't go up on the dose of the GLP, then you can go to those to do.
Like it.
So let's see. I believe I once heard you mention you have ESS, a flattened pituitary gland. I have this as well. Do you think this impacts the effectiveness of GH secretagogues? Potentially, yes. Basically, what I have is a partially empty sella, and most likely the result of that is years of playing football from the age of 7 until I was 23 years old and getting my head hit all the time. And again, I'm not, sometimes I say that and I was like, I don't want to sound like I'm a special snowflake or unique case. Most guys that play football have that. Like, it's not just a random rare thing. It's just most guys that play football don't realize that they have that. Most guys that are in the military don't realize they have that.
Somebody in a person in our group that played football, I wonder if they ever had that scan done.
Probably not. It would be a very rare thing unless you specifically sought it out to go do, to have an MRI of your brain to look at your pituitary gland.
But they looked at that when you did the fountain stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if your brothers have it.
If my brothers have it. I mean, it would be likely that someone that has lots of concussions. Now, I played at a level so far beyond most of my brothers. So like I took more hits than my brothers.
Yes, you played the longest.
So far. So maybe they don't as bad. But to the point of the GH secretagogues, I will say this. Growth hormone for me had a way better effect on my life than the secretagogues, considering my age. Based on what I've seen with other people of like how effective growth hormone is versus the secretagogues, for me, the growth hormone, and because the growth hormone, I'm not relying on anything from my pituitary to do. Now, does that mean that I can't use those? Well, I've tested my IGF using secretagogues and it does go up more than it would be. But I will say, like, my IGF without any growth hormone axis stimulation always was around 120, which is pretty low. That would be like very low. And I do think that people that have head trauma in their life do have basically impaired, just the way they have impaired reproductive hormone function via the pituitary, they would have a lot of times impaired growth hormone production via the pituitary as well. And so I would say for me personally, GH, I remember the first time I took GH, the sleep that I felt was like unlike, and I was a good sleeper before, but the depth of the sleep I got I was like, oh my goodness, this is crazy. I feel so refreshed when I got up. And that's been years ago now. But I do think there is something to it. Could we prove that? Probably not, but it would stand to reason that would be probably pretty accurate.
Yeah.
But then also too, it's like, is that any different? Even if you don't have a partially empty cella, is that any different from someone by the time they're 50 and they're just not, their pituitary is not working as good anymore? Probably not. It's just that I experienced that at a much younger age in life than most people would because of the concussions. Do you have any thoughts on whoever HRB is coming in hot with the good questions? This person has, I don't know who you are. Maybe I know you. They have thought about these things because these are actually very prescient and relevant questions. You have any thoughts on daily microdosing of PT141 for steady libido support? I have heard anecdotally that this can actually be beneficial, and also too for people that struggle with the side effects of PT141, which we know is about 40% of people get severe nausea and like a sick feeling in their stomach from PT141, very similar to Lantan too. I have heard people doing like 100 micrograms daily of PT141, and they don't get the nasty side effects, but they do get a boost in libido.
Yeah. No, that's the thing I tell like women, especially like if PT141 the upset stomach nausea feeling, like the more frequently you use it, the better, like the easier that is.
So. Yeah. I do think now, if you don't have the bad side effects, PT141 to me is just like using Viagra, like situationally. Mm-hmm. Like you'd be like, oh, okay, we know it's on now. Use some PT141. Although it's weird, like both Taylor and I respond very well to PT141. Mm-hmm. We enjoy PT141. We don't have bad side effects. It works very well for us. Mm-hmm. Other people, not so much. And so it's just one of those things you gotta try it for yourself and find out, as they say. But it's just one of those things like some people do well with and some people don't. But to the point, if you don't do well, I would say the daily microdosings can definitely be a good source of libido increase. At what point should someone switch from secretagogues to straight GH? Well, the bro in me is going to say as soon as possible, but I think it's obviously more nuanced than that.
Say after the age
of 50. Maybe like 45, 40. 45? I think I will say that's usually where I see people start to kind of branch off into how well they respond. Mm-hmm. Like usually up until the age, for someone that doesn't have pituitary dysfunction, usually the age of like 40, 45, 50-ish, depending on their end health, is usually where you'll start to see people kind of branch off into like, oh man, the secretagogues are not working as well versus the growth hormone is working a lot better.
Yeah.
I think up until that point, you will notice people probably have like a similar response to Tessa and IPA as they would 2 IUs of GH. Obviously, too, like it's a different conversation if you're trying to use GH to put on tons of muscle or whatever, then obviously you would want to do that younger. But I don't think there's danger in doing GH younger. I mean, obviously we have tons of published literature around using it in children with growth hormone deficiency, and for the most part, it's relatively safe there. I'm really interested in experimenting with bioregulators, particularly for brain health and vision improvement. Any chance of a masterclass on these? Yes, for sure. It's just one of those things. It's time consuming, so got to get around on it. I will say I have done, I wouldn't call them masterclass level quality, but if you go to library.hunterwilliamshealth.com and search any of those bioregulators, there's probably a good chance I've done a video on them. It was just on my old YouTube channel that got deleted. And so those are all in the library that are not on YouTube. But if you go to that library, just search whatever bioregulator, and there's probably either a video of me doing that specific one or a video where I've talked about it to have info. But yeah, definitely in the pipeline for sure. Love from the Shire. Good morning. Dina says, curious to know what the recommended dosages will be for BPC. I mean, I guess it'll probably end up being kind of what we have extrapolated in the research world, 250, 500 micrograms, somewhere around there. Yeah, Shannon. Funny how the peptide that can help with opioid withdrawal missed approval. Interesting how that works.
Yeah. I actually learned that from Shannon.
Best peptides for skincare products treating back acne, acne scars, and facial acne.
Best peptides. Topical GHK is going to be really good. Topical, honestly, ivermectin horse paste is going to be good. And then KPV.
Topical and injectable
KPV.
and oral KPV.
Mhm.
LL37. Did you say LL37?
And LL37.
Yeah. But
Injection. I wish they could do LL37 in a topical. I talked about this. I mentioned it to the person who we know that makes a lot of the topical creams, and I think he told me that it's a harder, like that one's a harder one to get that into a topical.
Yeah. Also, too, to note the distinction between topical and transdermal, because topicals would just be on the skin.
Mhm.
Like you can actually have a GHK topical and a GHK transdermal. The GHK transdermal is actually going to go penetrate down further to go a little bit more systemic, which is why those transdermals work really well because they're like penetrating further than a topical would be.
So is the transdermal versus topical, like, is it in a different solution? Or is it just that it's just stronger?
Well, it would be more systemic. Like a topical BPC wouldn't really do anything versus a transdermal would, because it's penetrating deeper into the probably different carriers. I'm not smart enough.
So like the GHK serum that I use, is that
topical?
That's topical. So
Correct.
that doesn't go as much as a transdermal that comes, and that's in a cream. The transdermal one comes in a cream base.
Correct.
Interesting.
I mean, but there's a use case for both.
No, there's a use case for both. But now I'm kind of thinking like transdermal GHK versus topical GHK for the face. I wonder if the transdermal for the face would be too harsh.
Potentially.
For the face.
Yeah.
Not so much for the body for healing purposes, but for skin purposes. Because it actually, you can, if GHK is too high in a topical or transdermal, it can actually burn the skin and get scarring.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So just something to know. But I think to the point of LL37, there's actually, if I'm quoting off a memory here, I'm pretty sure I've read a paper where they use topical LL37 for like to prevent infections because it's an antimicrobial. But I think that it would stand to reason that it would help with acne.
Yeah.
As well. But doggone it, that ivermectin horse paste, that stuff works. Yeah. I wish I would have had that as a teenager.
Yeah.
I will say that.
Yeah.
Oral ivermectin could be beneficial as well, just to help clean out the gut, parasite cleanse, help with that. Just scrolling down here. Good to see so many people here. We love you guys. BPC and cancer thoughts. I mean, we've made extensive videos on this. Yeah. Would I inject it into a tumor or a tumor-laden person? No. But I don't lose sleep at night using BPC potentially causing me cancer. I mean, there's as much evidence for it shrinking tumors as there is. I mean, there's no evidence that it causes tumors, but we do have evidence that it shrinks tumors. Now, does that mean that we can fully say that it doesn't? No. I think as long as your body doesn't have an environment that's favorable to cancer, you're going to be totally fine. What's up, Point Firestorm? I know who this is, so this is a good name. He says, anything you guys do or take for increased verbal fluency? Well, I am not, everyone knows, or maybe you don't know, I am not the biggest nootropic head. I'm not someone that like leans a lot on nootropics. I dabble from time to time, maybe some Nupep, maybe some Dihexa, some P21, some Cerebralizum. But I'm not like
we're both sensitive to like any kind of stimulant.
Yeah, I'm not a big person to like take stimulants. Maybe this is maybe this is not like the good old like American way. I mean, I do work pretty hard, but I do my best to like, if there's anything like I have trouble like pulling myself off of work, and as I have gotten older, I want to do a better job of like having a balance, because I find that the more that I have time where I'm like relaxing, the time that I am working, I am much better when I'm working. Meaning that I don't want to like constantly, like I could go take a bunch of stimulants, whatever, and work 18 hours a day and push myself really hard, but I'm going to burn it at both ends and eventually crash out.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is that I want to do this for the rest of my life. And I would much more rather do that in a sustainable manner where it's like controlled, like where I like feel good about what I'm doing, rather than just like hopping myself up on a bunch of nootropics and like trying to like collapse the time wave of my work.
Well, that's the thing too, is like, I feel like sometimes like I have to kind of remind you to pull you back out of work sometimes.
Yeah. And I think too, as I've gotten older, I've seen the value in actually how that makes my work better.
Yeah.
And that's not like the thing that all the growth hackers and the, you know, like entrepreneur social media stuff will say, but I will say I'm better when I do this, when I come from a place of like, I am well rested and relaxed and everything. Now I know that wasn't the question. So the question was verbal fluency. My biggest, like I was someone that mumbled when I was a child. I didn't have a speech impediment or anything, but I was just very shy, mumbled a lot. Like I didn't project my voice. I still probably don't project my voice enough. I think it's probably due to the gain on the microphone. Sometimes I have a deep voice, so like it doesn't pick up enough. But verbal fluency, honestly, the best thing for verbal fluency is repeated talk, like public speaking, of like talking. So for instance, like we were out of town for the last couple of weeks and I didn't film. I actually did film a couple videos and we did our group call one week while we were out of town. But verbal fluency is a perishable skill. The less you talk in a setting that is meant to be like a public speaking forum, even if it's a podcast or public speaking, whatever, the worse you get. It's kind of like lifting weights. If you don't lift weights for a month, guess what? When you go back to lift weights, you're going to be sore. Your body will pick it up if you have the muscle memory. Yeah. And so I think the best thing for verbal fluency is repeated use, meaning that you have to do it. It is a perishable skill. The only you got to pay the price. You got to get up and you got to pay rent when it comes to any of these skills. And I think that's my best answer. I don't know about yours.
Yeah, I think it's just honestly filming has helped me a lot. Practicing in camera has helped a lot. And reading's a big one for me. Like when I go through my waves where I don't read for a while, I notice like my vocabulary isn't as strong.
Well, I might just be doing this because I'm like rationalizing or justifying to myself. I like to read a lot of fiction books. Yeah. But that actually, in my opinion, does translate to my verbal fluency because I'm constantly reading.
Well, plus, yeah. And you read, and I think also reading fantasy also helps too. Like, because usually with fantasy, like there's usually made up words. And so that also, I think.
What's interesting about fantasy is I like go back and forth between fantasy and then like mystery, thriller, crime, thriller, whatever, or legal thrillers. And fantasy, I love fantasy books. My brain has to work way harder to construct the universe in a fantasy book.
Which is probably why I don't read as much fantasy, because I get annoyed because I want to get to the point. That's why I like my mystery.
Yeah, there's a lot of world building in
it's just
fantasy.
Like, if it doesn't get me hooked in 2 pages, like I don't want to.
Well, it's kind of the difference between like fast food and like a 7-course meal at a nice restaurant. It's like sometimes you just want to like get it on, like, hey, let's get to the point.
Yeah.
But then also too, the flip side of that is you don't, like if you were to read a Frida McFadden book, there's no like redemption world building to like where you're like, oh my goodness, like it just came full circle. You just like heard a story. Whereas like they're good. Like she can,
I mean, they're good like palate cleansers. I don't like.
Yeah, but with a fantasy book, it takes a while, but then you get rewarded for it. And you're like, oh, I'm glad I read those 400 pages because now like the story arc and the redemption and like the understanding of the world is so like, it's so much more in depth that you get rewarded. And it's a much more rewarding experience than just reading like the quick hit, you know?
I wish there's not enough standalone fantasy books. Like the last fantasy like book that I really read was the Blood and Ash series, and there's like 8 books in that series, and like I read those like I think like two years ago, and like I just haven't picked up another fantasy book since. It is like a commitment of like being stuck like 8 books in to like really get the full circle. And then I don't even think she even finished the series because something got hacked and she got upset. But it's just like, it's one thing I don't like about it. It's such a big commitment.
It is, and you end up, it's like you could have read 3 average
mystery.
books
Yeah.
in the time that it took you to do that one. I would say this, I read this a little over a year ago now. Patrick Rothfuss, The Name of the Wind, and then the next book in the series is why am I blanking on the book? The first one's The Name of the Wind. Next one is A Wise Man's Fear. And those two fantasy books, I think they're both probably like 700 pages a piece, somewhere in there. Those were so, like, that is like my standard that I hold everything to now from a fantasy perspective. So literally when I'm looking for fantasy books, I just like go look up like similar books to those, and nothing has come close since I have read those. And so now it's just like, once you get a book that is so good and it becomes like the gold standard, it's just like, in the genre, you're like, why even read anything else? Because it's not going to be as good as that. Because it's like, for me, it was like the perfect setting and story arc and everything.
I think I need to read more fantasy books written by men, because like I liked fantasy when I was younger, like in my earlier 20s. But now I just feel like all the fantasy books are the same. It's just like a young girl having to be in her masculine, and then this really aggressive masculine bad boy man comes into her life.
Well, yeah, that's why I would read
like steamy sex scenes, and I just feel like I don't like. I don't.
It's the same story.
It's
with
the same story,
cover.
just a different setting, and that's probably why I'm like not as into fantasy.
Well, I feel like they should categorize those books as young adult, and they're not. Like The Fourth Wing, maybe it is. Like I read The Fourth Wing, and I was like,
I didn't even.
A 33-year-old man is not gonna like The Fourth Wing. But I was like, it's so popular. Let me read it to see what the big hubbub is about.
Yeah.
And I was like, seriously? But that's just my opinion. I'm not saying that it's like, I mean, it obviously
the book talk
has.
girlies are gonna come for you, but they're not watching this because
they're definitely not watching.
They're definitely not watching.
But I'm just saying, it's just
channel.
I'm not saying it's a bad book.
Yeah.
I'm saying for me,
I
didn't find it like redemptive, because I was like, oh, it's just like the same like unrequited love from a bad boy,
they're romantic
story. So
anyway,
point being, for verbal fluency, verbal fluency, some of the best things, like the best thing for verbal fluency is the art of doing it, which is speaking and writing and reading. Speak, write, read, and that will help your verbal fluency more than anything.
I think also too, like I did this is sending video chats to your friends, especially if you're somebody who's like wanting to make videos, but you're shy and camera shy, and being on camera is like sending video chats, like video messages to your friends rather than text messages. As well too.
Yeah, I think with people that want to make videos and they're nervous to do it, I always just tell people like, just record them and never publish them, but you get better at like the concept and the process of like putting a camera in front of your face. All right.
Let's get back on topic.
Back on topic. Donnie says, I just started 100 milligrams of Cypionate, feel way better. Got my labs as a natty. My pituitary was working hard, and my total was 400. Prolactin was in medium high. Haven't got labs yet, but 100 milligrams is already night and day, 2 weeks in. Any supplements you suggest when on Cypionate to be healthier or helpful? Well, that's great to hear, and that means you're doing the right things. I would say supplement-wise, I don't like to throw too much in there when someone is starting TRT. I like them to kind of have this like 3-month phase, like where they're figuring out their dosing and how their body's adapting, and they're going to go through some changes. I will say like the supplements for TRT are not that much different than supplements for life in general. Magnesium is very important. I think magnesium even more so, because you deplete a little bit more when you're on testosterone because you have a higher metabolism. So magnesium is very important. I think the standard ones would be like thyroid. You want thyroid support. Pregnenolone potentially for someone that needs it, and DHA potentially for someone that needs it. But you always got to play around with those, because some guys don't need those, and then some guys do well with those added in. But I think thyroid would probably be the one thing that most guys that start TRT don't consider, and their doctor doesn't consider, and it ends up being like the biggest game changer for them.
I would also say like to add in just like up your mineral consumption, just because when you're first starting, your metabolism is going to be working and burning quicker. So I would say up like the taurine, magnesium blends, all those things.
Yeah. Greg says, is a good idea Saxarmerlin sublingual tablets with ipamorelin. I don't think it's bad. I just don't know how much benefit you're going to get out of it. So if you wanted to, I would stack the injections. But
maybe you'll sleep better.
Yeah, maybe. Rick says also got on low dose naltrexone too. Worth it. Yes, low dose naltrexone, absolute game changer for a lot of people.
Yes.
Let's see. Ankle fracture surgery with ligament tear 3 weeks ago using Clo Cardilax into near injury site with BioCartilage and BioRestore. Anything I should add? I would just say the PEG MGF would be beneficial for that. And then also too, we kind of forget about this, but having systemic growth hormone exposure, whether it's TESA, IPA, HGH, is going to help a lot with that too. You know, and I'm actually thinking more and more that SS31 should just be with everyone, but there actually was a new study that came out in mice that SS31 actually accelerated recovery from spinal cord injury. Now, no, this isn't a spinal cord injury, but I think SS31 is just going to make everything work better.
Yeah.
And so I think I would add that in. Does it matter how diluted you make your peptide? What are the pros for higher concentration and less units? Honestly, beyond obviously like trying to get, like if you're only injecting 1 unit of something, that's going to be really hard. But no, the difference between 10 and 30 units, I don't think is that much for a peptide. 48 female, have to get a hysterectomy next month. Should I try to get TRT script and start now or wait till after the surgery? I would try to avoid the hysterectomy if possible. I don't know your specific situation, but yeah, if you had a gun to your head and you said you had to get a hysterectomy, you absolutely just want to start it right away.
Yeah.
And in my experience, maybe it even prevents you from having to have it, but I don't know your situation. And that would obviously be something you want to talk with your doctor. Yeah. Oh boy. What are your thoughts on Chinese peptides that seem to work as well as those from US research companies? Are you mainly paying for a trusted middleman since most peptides are made in China anyway? If you get a warm, fuzzy feeling inside because someone told you your peptides are USA made, then you probably should do more research about where peptides come from. And that's what I'll say. Most all API that I know of, and I'm saying what I know of, I'm not saying this is the definitive answer. API stands for active pharmaceutical ingredient, and most all, if not all, that I know of comes from China. And sure, there are some peptides that are bottled here in the US, meaning that they put them in the bottle in the US, just like a piece of furniture is assembled here in the US and it's made in China. In my experience, it's the very same thing. US, like a lot of people, like I said, you want to get a warm, fuzzy feeling inside that it's made in the US. And if you want to pay more for that because of a marketing angle, by all means do it. But in my experience, that's not how it works. And I'm just saying that just be a critical thinker. Like ask yourself, do you really think, like, can you go find the factories that are synthesizing API for peptides in the US? If someone knows, send them to me. Yeah. But until now, I haven't seen them. Yeah. And so if they are, why aren't they advertising it that they're making it here? Oh, because they would probably get in trouble. So, like either they are and they're hiding or they're just making it up. And so it's kind of like you can say it because you can't advertise it. So it's like, oh, I don't know. So I'll say this, the peptides that I inject into my body, I know come from China, and I am perfectly fine with that. I'm not going to kid myself otherwise. So again, I'm not saying that to throw shade. Like I'm sure there are peptides that are bottled here in the US. How much of that's done, I don't know. Try to go set up a lab tour with one and see what they tell you. See what happens. So anyway, last Saturday coffee talk, I asked about the best peptides for Are we back?
Back.
I think our internet just went down. It's been storming here. So we did have power go out 2 days ago. People just let us know in the comments because we just like blanked out. It shows that we're still live right now. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Good. Okay. Good.
All right. We're back.
That'd be nice.
I was like, start talking about where peptides come from and then you go down.
Okay.
I know nothing. I'm just literally, this is all a live action role play, and I'm just literally spouting off nonsense into the universe. Let me find my place. Okay. Dave says, last Saturday, asked about peptides for beer growth, recommended GHKCU topical. What brand? I don't talk about brands on the live streams, so you just got to know where to go for those because I would like for my channel to stay up, unfortunately. And I don't do that, guys, to like try to like dangle a carrot. One of the things that makes me so angry is like dangling carrots in front of people. But I literally, if I start talking about where to buy stuff on here, I will go down. And there's people going down at this moment right now for doing that. And so just trying to keep the information out there and keep it that way. Is bruising at injection site normal on Chloe? Yes, that can be normal to get bruising. Some people get lumps, some people get pain,
It's from the GHK.
and some people get bruising. Yeah.
Oh, wait, there's no GHK. Wait, is there GHK in that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chloe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any advice on the skin sensitivity on Reddit? I'm at 4.5 milligrams, just bumped from 4. It's kind of tough. It's like, obviously the easy answer would be just to go down one dose. I have seen topical magnesium spray that you can get at any Whole Foods or wherever work well for that. So try some topical magnesium spray. I'm not going to say it's going to cure everything, but in my experience, when I've done that to myself to just see how it feels, meaning titrate up the dose of Reddit to get the thing, it's weird to explain to people because it feels like you have like a rope burn. And like one time I literally thought, literally thought I had rope burn on my leg. I was like, what did I like burn on my leg? And I looked down, there's just nothing there. It's just the Retta that's causing it, which is crazy. But Jessica says 47-year-old female, 132 pounds, 5'5", exercise at OT, which I'm guessing is Orange Theory, 4 days a week. On HRT, 6 milligrams of test 2 times a week. Progesterone, 1 milligram of Reto Peak, 1 unit GH daily in the AM. Z-score 0.1, IGF is 149. Looking to shred. Should I up GH to 2 IU? Yeah, I don't see any issue as to why you couldn't, especially if your IGF is only 149. Yeah. And so, yeah, I would say definitely you could increase the HGH. You could do 1 IU in the morning, 1 IU at night. You could do 2 IUs in the morning, you do 2 IUs at night, however you want to split it. But yeah, you have definitely room that you could go up. And that's the thing with women is like, I always like the women to start lower because some are more sensitive to GH. So you can start half, 1 IU, start there. But in my experience, like tons of women do really well, especially if you're super active, you're training like that. Sounds like you're pretty dialed in from a fitness perspective. So yeah, I think you could definitely go up on the GH and potentially get some added body composition benefits. Just the thing with GH body comp changes is like more over time, you know. Taking TERS, I'm going to add testosterone. Which my immediate expectations be? Immediate, probably that you'll sleep better. Long term, I would say probably better body composition for sure, but immediate sleep will most likely be the thing that you notice. Jay Feo says, I'm considering Retta, but I'm concerned about the glucagon receptor agonist component since I'm type 1. Has anyone type 1 diabetes use retatrutide? I don't know particularly. Like I've heard anecdotally that they can, but I don't know. I would probably do tirzepatide because I just know there's published data around that to show that it helps. I have fatigue since a kid and TERS makes it worse. Oh, okay. So that's why they wouldn't use it. Just as on Retta for type 1 or fix my fatigue. Honestly, I don't know enough, so I'm not going to sit here and act like I do. So I can't tell you, and that's unfortunate that TERS makes it worse. I would just try to look up as much research as you can, see if there's any cases of them using Retta in type 1 diabetes. But at this moment, I haven't read enough on my own to tell you one way or the other. Currently taking Mounjaro, tesamorelin, and MOTS-C. I want to add PT-141, another peptide for weight loss. What else should I add? 5'7", 190 pounds. Goal is 170. Mounjaro, 1 year. Tessa, 5 weeks. MOTS-C, 2 weeks. I think one, obviously say check your hormones first. Yeah. So if your hormones are not optimized, then none of those things are going to matter. In terms of added fat loss beyond those, I don't know the dose of the tirzepatide. So obviously you could try retatrutide instead of tirzepatide. Usually that will move the needle more for people. If you've kind of stalled out on tirzepatide.
So like exercise, like changing up fitness routines also can make a big difference because you're using, I mean, that case, like you're using a lot of great things, but yeah, exercise and diet can make a difference, not knowing what those routines are. But even if you just added HIIT like 3 times a week, if you're not already, that can actually move the needle as well too.
Well, I don't want to say this because I know some people like over exercise and they're stalling out and they're over exercising, to which more exercise is not the answer.
Yeah.
I'm gonna sound like I'm being condescending here, but like sometimes the answer is more exercise.
Yeah.
Sometimes you gotta
sometimes it's less exercise if you are one that is over exercising.
Correct. But sometimes, like, I know for a fact, because I ask people and they say, hey, I'm not losing the weight I want. And I say, okay, how many hours of zone 2 cardio are you doing per week? Well, I walk my dogs. I take 10,000 steps per day.
Yeah.
Wrong answer. That's not zone 2 cardio. You've got to do cardio and you've got to lift weights. And I know that a lot of people are doing that and they're stalling out, and I get that. But like, that's why I like when people preface questions, or like the woman just did. She said, I work out at Orange Theory Fitness. If you're working out at Orange Theory 4 times per week, you're getting enough cardio.
Yeah.
Like
you're getting hit.
I've been to Orange Theory once or twice. Like I know you're getting enough cardio. So anyway, but peptide wise, like, sure, can I tell you to go take Sloop or BAM 15, or I mean, ATX. Go to ATX. Like, I've got a video, 20 non-GLP fat loss compounds that you could add in. Albuterol, like there's
sometimes
so much.
Adding in isn't always the answer.
Well, yeah, sometimes you gotta do more cardio.
Yeah.
And that's the answer, unfortunately. Or you gotta change your diet. Sometimes the diet is left to the roadside. Wendy says, bought MK777 powder instead of the capsules. Can you give advice on how to use that? I mean, if I had the powder, I would just get a microgram or a milligram scale and then measure out 10 milligrams. But also too, sometimes if you do that, sometimes I know it's digested a little bit differently than if the capsules, because obviously the capsule you're taking, it's going to the bloodstream in your stomach. But yeah, I would just get a milligram scale and measure it out.
Yeah.
Could I do a video on peptides to avoid while taking methylene blue? I mean, I could research it. I don't really know which ones to specifically avoid. I know methylene blue is an MAOI or an MAO inhibitor or whatever. So yeah, I'm sure there's ones that you would want to, but I just don't really mess around with methylene blue.
Oh yeah, for the person who asked about the body acne and facial acne, using a methylene blue spray is actually really beneficial. Or topical methylene blue will actually help as well too. Sorry to back up on that. Young Goose has a topical spray that's really good.
Have I had time to look at a loralintide? I have not tried it yet, but I did write an email about it the other day. It's just still a lot of unanswered questions around it. With all the peptide companies claiming 3x to 7x testing, I would love to find cleanest and most accurate source, like eating clean and organic. I want the same for my peptides. Is there such a source? I don't know, to be honest. Okay, here's the thing. I will talk about peptide sourcing since it seems to be popular today. Okay, so let's say you go buy from a vendor and they've got 7x testing. They've got all the nice, pretty COAs. The peptide that was tested in that batch was probably 1 vial or 2 vials, maybe even 3 vials, out of a batch of 1,000 or 5,000 peptides that they got. How do you know what is in that specific vial is what you're injecting into your body? You don't. Now, can you trust a manufacturer based on the source, meaning that the place that it comes from is adhering to good standards? Yes. But if you are looking for a magical place that like has 7x testing, the peptide they are showing you that was tested is not what you were injecting into yourself.
No.
We are in a logical conundrum here, meaning that you cannot test what you're injecting in your body. I mean, I guess you could.
I don't think people test as often, just knowing how much it costs for testing.
Well, there's that too. Like, are they really getting every batch tested?
Every batch tested.
And I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. Like, if you trust your manufacturer, you shouldn't have to get every batch tested. So here is my unpopular hot take opinion, and people would probably get mad at this. The whole COA thing is a cottage industry to give people warm, fuzzy feelings and I understand why it's there.
Yeah.
Because it builds trust. It's like, hey, here's the third-party verification. But you don't know if that's what's in the bottle that you're injecting.
It's like saying if the cosmetic product is PETA approved.
I don't even know what that means. I know what PETA is, but I'm just saying I don't even know what PETA. Like, I guess no animals.
The
were
women
harmed.
know what I'm talking about.
Well, so it would be that like no animals were harmed in the process.
Yes.
What if how do you know? What if the third ranking employee at the place isn't nice to their dog? Is it still PETA approved? you know, like, I'm joking, but I'm in the place of COAs, like, and I get where people are coming from because they just want to trust what they're injecting into their body. I think you're probably like in a lot of cases, you're more at risk on lettuce that you buy from the grocery store. I've always seen this last week. There's been a lettuce recall. Probably more at risk of what you're buying from the grocery store than you are for 95% of peptides. But I get it because you're injecting. A lot of people are afraid, like, oh, am I injecting something that's dangerous? And it's like,
Yeah.
well, like you didn't ask about the supplements you bought off Amazon. That's probably a lot of cases there can be very heavy metals in those supplements you're getting off of Amazon. And I actually think like there's actually like very, very, very low incidence of heavy metals in peptides that you're able to like even trace back and see. But I think here's my best advice to people when it comes to COA testing is take it with a grain of salt. If it makes you feel better, what you could do if you wanted to is you could order a peptide, mix it at home, use half the bottle, put the rest of it on ice, or like not on ice, but like refrigerate it, ship it into a place and see if they'll test it already mixed. And if you want to do that every single bottle that you're injecting and that makes you feel better, then you can do that. But aside from doing that, which would obviously be so cost prohibitive and so cumbersome, which no one's going to do, just trust that you're getting them from a place that is consistent with what they do. And if it makes you feel better that they have COAs, but honestly, like from where I sit, I know where things are manufactured and I know where to get things that are coming from a good manufacturer. And that's what I trust. And I don't have to sit and test every batch and do whatever. But I fully realize, like, hey, could someone pull an old switcheroo on you and like give you a good batch and then do a bad one? Yeah, that's what happens in the supplement world all the time. Is they do that. They give you a good one that tests out positive, and then they start doing it. So I realize that that's a possibility.
Yeah.
And so the peptides I put in my body, I just know where they come from and the manufacturer, and that's what I trust. But no, unfortunately, even if there was, I wouldn't say it publicly because I wouldn't want to get kicked off of social media stuff. But you know, it's kind of like going to the farmer's market and there's 10 guys that sell tomatoes, and most of them are probably fine, but you're going to find one that you like. You like the farmer, you like the farm that came from, you know, and that's your guy. And it ends up being what it is, and you can test out other ones, sure, and that's totally fine too. But in my opinion, from where I sit, the whole COA thing, I understand why it's there. Is it even necessary? I would say, yeah, probably it is. But I think it's way overemphasized because, again, like, how do you know that that's actually? And here's the thing too, is like a lot of the vendors, they don't even know they're selling it, but they don't even know. And so like they're getting it tested and they're like, oh, this came back tested. Like they don't even know if like that whole thing came from the same batch at the manufacturer. It's like they may be getting tested something that is not even being like what is the person that they're selling it to, and they don't know that. So anyway, long answer to say, unfortunately, there is just no better way at this time to really know what's going on. Wondering about cagrilintide and methylene blue. I mean, they're two completely different things. You could use both of them, sure. I guess the answer would be like if they are. Can you use them at the same time? I don't know. It would seem like maybe there would be some. I wouldn't say definitively that yes, you can. I would want to know more. But I would ask too for people that are using methylene.
Methylene blue is worth it.
I think it's a good. That's a good antimicrobial, but I don't know that it's like it's for people using it for like energy and stuff. I don't know what you could get out of it that you couldn't get out of other things that we trust more. Wife is 52, female, postmenopause, on HRT since February this year. 1 gram Armour for thyroid, 1 milligram estradiol, 200 milligrams progesterone daily, 8 milligram test sip 3 times per week. Feels better, still low energy. What's missing? If you're doing all those things, you still have low energy. I would say the thyroid might not be enough. Yeah, sometimes you got like I take 1.5 grams of Armour because like even 1 grain is not enough for me. So that could be potential. It could be a mitochondrial thing. And so SS31 could very much potentially help like restore mitochondrial function to have better energy. And then also what I didn't see on here is HGH. And so potentially like HGH could reset sleep architecture and improve sleep architecture to the point where you do feel better. Mm-hmm. And so those would be kind of the first things that I would do off the bat to see if they move the needle there. But sounds like you got most of the bases covered. Do you need to take a binder with FOXO4 to help evacuate dead cells? And what would be a good cycle look like as far as weeks and how many 10 milligram vials? I don't think so. I don't think it necessarily works like that. But, I mean, maybe. But I don't think it's bad to take binders from time to time. Cycle, I would do 1 milligrams per day for 10 days in a row, and you can do that 2 times per year. In my experience, that's all you really need from the FOXO4, and it works pretty well. My experience for that.
A lot of people do get like a
flu-like symptoms.
Symptoms with it. So just be mindful, like when you're using it, like you're not going to be like traveling or have a lot going on because you can feel sick.
Yeah. HCG gives me high nipple sensitivity, even at 250 IUs twice per week. I've gone as high as 500 IU 3 times per week, but my only side effect seems to be nipple sensitivity. Should I consider taking AI? Please don't. Please do not take an AI. Here's what I would do. If you are taking it for fertility, I would, and you're not doing it, I think HMG is going to be better for fertility anyway. So I would just say take 75 IUs of HMG 2 or 3 times per week and see how you feel. And in my experience, like I feel like if I could only have one, I would take HMG. And I think it would be better than HCG anyway for fertility or even for just maintaining testicular function. So yeah, that would be my opinion on that. Switch to that. See if it helps. You could obviously also try enclomiphene, maybe do like 25 milligrams of enclomiphene 3 times per week and see if that helps as well. I don't like enclomiphene personally, but I'm taking it right now to cover all my bases for fertility. But once that is achieved, hopefully sooner than later, enclomiphene is not something I will be taking long term. I just don't like how I feel on it. I mean, I don't feel bad, but I just don't like it. Dina says, Taylor, what do you feel the best way to test sex hormones is? Serum blood testing?
Serum and blood testing, yes.
Yeah, I don't think Dutch testing or saliva testing
saliva is very outdated.
Yeah. Dina says, my husband is in a lot of pain from sciatica. I'm running BPC, TB500, GHK. Should I add KPV? Yes, I would absolutely add in KPV and then potentially Cardilax. Maybe even ARA290 as well there. Stalled on TERS, started Retta, best way to transition. I should actually make a whole video about this. I mean, I've talked about it in the past. So if you just look up on my website or whatever, just TERS to Retta transition, you'll see like articles and stuff. There's no right or wrong way to do it. My best experience is titrating. So let's say you're on 10 milligrams of TERS per week. What I would do is go over the course of 4 weeks. I would go down 2 milligrams per week until I'm at 2 milligrams. So I'd do 10 milligrams. The next week I'd do 8. The next week I'd do 6, then 4, and then 2. And then when I'm at 2 milligrams of TERS, I would switch over to 2 milligrams of Retta. And that might not be enough, but then you can kind of be at a good baseline. That's kind of like the minimum threshold to where you can work your way up on the Retta. So it's weird because like if you go from 10 milligrams of TERS to 10 milligrams of Retta, it could go very sideways very fast. And so that's why like you get this like really like an 8-week block where you take down the TERS, go to like the threshold, the minimum threshold dose, start the Retta at the minimum threshold dose, and then work your way up. And it kind of like gives you like an 8-week kind of like a nice little like walk into the Retta. That'd be my recommendation. There's no right or wrong way. You can do whatever you want, but I will say probably not the best thing to do to go 10 milligrams of TERS to 10 milligrams of Retta, or even 5. It just is not the same thing. It's really different, you know? So that would be a recommendation. Bless you. How would I dose AOD 9604 for regrowing cartilage in the knee? Same question for injectable Cardilax. I would do at least 1 milligram of both per day. There's actually pretty good evidence that AOD can actually help regrow cartilage. I haven't tested that on myself, but I also don't have like areas that I need to regrow cartilage, thankfully. But I would do at least 1 milligram of both, maybe even 2 milligrams of both. Probably separate injections though. What's up, my man Dave? He says, opinion taking injectable carnitine daily, thinking non-strength training days, AM injection, cardio days on weight training. Absolutely. I tell people take as much injectable carnitine as you can. It's just that in my experience, the injection pain is just so intolerable if you do it every day, because you end up like, even if you're rotating sites, by the time you get back to the next site, you're still in pain from it. And so that's why I just break mine up and usually do like 3 days a week. But yeah, you could definitely do it daily. There's no downside to that. Yes, Sean, I can definitely talk more about transdermals, although I will leave vendor names out of it just to help keep the channel up. What is the best growth hormone, in my opinion? I like Senatropin. I've been trying Zomacton recently, which you can get from compounding pharmacies, and I like that too.
I feel bloated on it.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit closer to it's closer to the generics than the pharma, even though it's pharmaceutical grade. Genotropin is actually probably the best. I just seem to have like a little bit of an allergy to Genotropin where I get acne on my back when I take Genotropin for some reason.
I retain the least amount of water on Senatropin than I do Genotropin. And actually we did use Genotropin. I ended up getting like some acne like on my back and shoulders. So.
I think Genotropin probably is even a little bit superior for body composition to Senatropin. However, it's not worth it for me because I get the acne, probably just for one of the excipients in there. Like I just might have an allergy to it or whatever. But I like Senatropin. It seems to be the best of both worlds. It's a little bit cheaper. And I don't know how much longer, because I know it's an Iranian manufacturer. So I don't even know if that's going to be a thing that we can get anytime in the future. What? Maybe like don't manifest it.
Yeah, basically. Don't manifest it because it's.
I mean, there'll always be a way, and even generics. There's good generics out there that are good that I like, but
maybe it will happen while I'm pregnant. I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, one thing I would like to try is I've never tried Norditropin, but I would like to try that and see how I do because apparently that's even better than Genotropin. I've just never been able to get Norditropin and Serostim. I've heard are like some of the best, but I don't even know where to get Serostim. I think some underground place you can get Norditropin, but I don't know. Dina says, I have a thickened endometrium that is vascularized. The doc is recommending a DNC procedure. Interested in Taylor's thoughts on the procedure and should I stop taking BPC because of angiogenesis?
That one I'm going to have to think about. I would say I don't know. So I'm going to have to really think about this. My thought process with it is that it might shed the uterine lining too much. And oh man, I'm really gonna have to think about this. I'm gonna have to think about this. Also, it's like, are you using hormone replacement therapy? Because like, is it because of like uterine lining being thicker is usually from higher amounts of estrogen? I'm gonna have to think about this one. That would be my only concern is that the uterine lining getting too thin. But do you have any thoughts on this?
I have no idea.
I feel like this is a Jen Seeker conversation. Like I just wouldn't about this.
I wouldn't know enough. I'm definitely not the right person to ask for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to think about that one.
Sorry, Dina.
Sorry.
On that one.
Yeah. Hey, I admit when I don't know. I could sit here and pull some BS, but I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah. For healing MCAS and Hashimoto's, what would be your sequence or stack of peptides? I would go KPV, thymosin alpha 1, SS31, LL37, and probably metformin too.
It'd be the thyroid bioregulator.
Thyroid bioregulator for sure.
Desiccated thyroid.
Yeah, and then also a GLP, even if it's a microdose.
I would say tirzepatide.
Yeah, tirzepatide. I think tirzepatide is superior to retatrutide in that case of person. Sean says, any thoughts on MVD1, also known as Sana or Sana? No, I don't know enough about it yet. I don't know where to get it. I don't know what it does. I think it's like a creatine-dependent thermogenesis, something or another.
Seems like the oral thing that's supposed to be similar to is like an oral version of like MOTS-C and Jardiance. I could be making this up. I feel like we talked about it on the women's.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems to be a new thing people are talking about. I don't know to see if it's even out there yet.
I feel like Alex might be using it.
Yeah, I just don't know enough about it. Yeah. Donnie says, for some reason, GHRP, GHRH, even growth hormone basically give me insomnia. I only get 3 hours of sleep for weeks. I would try it if you haven't yet. I would try it in the morning and see if that helps because some people are just like that. Where they do better in the morning. What would be the correct dosage for a woman wanting to take Selenk, oxytocin, and PT141 stack? I would say, if you're doing injection, I would do 500 micrograms Selenk, 50 micrograms oxytocin, and I don't know. If you do well with PT141, you could do like 500 micrograms. If you don't know, just do PT141 first, because if you don't do well with it and you take oxytocin PT141,
you won't know.
You might be. If you don't know how you respond to those, like do those in isolation first. But that would be my recommendation. Running HGH and IGF-1 LR3 a good idea, or too much stress insulin wise? I don't think for like a 4 to 6 week cycle. I wouldn't make a habit out of doing that year round. But for a 4-week cycle, if you're trying to bulk up, put on some mass, no, I think that's fine.
I would use the IGF LR3 in the muscle sites.
Yeah, and then
that you're training that day.
And then I would do it post-workout, or you could do it pre and post-workout, and then I would do the HGH just at nighttime before bed. But no, I've done that before, and it does work well. And I've never had any insulin sensitivity issues. But again, it's just in a 4-week or a 6-week block. Best peptides for fibromyalgia, pain, fatigue, fiber inflammation. Well, the first thing I'm always going to say for stuff like fibromyalgia is testosterone. Inject testosterone and probably watch a lot of those side effects go away. But then I would say it'd be very similar to that MCAS stack. I would say KPV, probably even BPC and TP500 in those cases.
Yeah.
Megadose of SS31. So I try to get someone like that on 10 milligrams of SS31 per day.
Tirzepatide
microdose, and probably be pretty good. Megan says you can use a product called Intigen to get peptides transdermal. Didn't know that. Interesting. If I've been diagnosed with hypogonadotropic hypogonadism and I'm on TRT protocol for testosterone, would Tessa and IPA still work for me since pituitary gland is not working as it should? It probably will. It just won't work as well for someone that doesn't have that. And so you could, but I would just say probably growth hormone is going to be better. Tommy and Lauren, or maybe I pronounced it wrong. I'm postmenopausal woman that just started injectable testosterone sub-Q 3 times per week. Is so thick. Do you have any suggestions on how to make the process easier? Inject IM, and that would probably make it easier.
Yeah.
I mean, if you like testosterone sub-Q, by all means do it. I don't think it's bad, but it just is easier for me to do IM with a 28 gauge needle into my delts or my glutes.
Yeah.
Dina says for Hashimoto's, she takes LDN. I forgot to mention that for the stack, but yes, LDN would be well. Black seed oil, definitely good, and avoid gluten, definitely beneficial there. It's funny being in Europe, the gluten is so different than it is here in the United States.
Yeah.
Like the bread, you could literally eat pasta and pizza all day and it doesn't bother your stomach like the same way it would if you're getting it from restaurants here in the States. Kelly says, what are your thoughts on mixing topicals with DMSO cream from the DMSO store to help? I don't know enough about it. So I can't. Yeah. Unfortunately, I'm not the one. And yeah, she says to get further absorbed. I don't know. I'm just always a little, there's nothing wrong with the DMSO, but I'm just a little bit more hesitant because it will pull like anything through the skin, which means if you have bacteria or something, potentially, not always, but potentially, you just got to be careful with it. Just proceed with caution if you're going to do that. Inexperience using supplements for LDL management. TUDCA, good. Yes. Citrus bergamot. Yes. Good. Dihydroberberine. Yes. Good. Nattokinase. Yes. Good. All those are good. I would just say a GLP is also going to be beneficial as well. And potentially something like SF31, I don't think is going to harm. Glutathione could be also beneficial to help minimize the amount of inflammation in the environment and help the liver, obviously. So all those are definitely good. SGLT2 inhibitors, Farxiga, Jardiance, things like that would be good. I don't know what this means, and maybe I just don't know my street lingo enough. Will goes into the Hunter Williams slop bowl. What's a slop bowl?
Is that like, I don't know. I just think of food. Now I want to look it up. What is
a slop bowl? Frank, if you can explain, don't.
You're gonna lose your spot. Like, is that just like?
I don't know what a slop bowl is. Is that like if you're junk food? Like if you eat junk food?
Yeah, fast casual meal. Like a mix of ingredients. So, yeah, so I guess it's like, that's basically what it says.
A slop bowl is a modern internet slang term for a customizable fast casual meal served in a bowl. Small So that would that be like Chipotle? That's what I think of with like fast casual. Like
It's basically what our weekly dinners throughout the week are basically bowls. It's usually rice and potatoes, or rice or just
okay.
potatoes.
So this is just like
We
I throw
don't
it together
really,
real fast.
yeah, throw it together real fast. Hunter doesn't. I make all of Hunter's meals. Hunter does make his own lunch most days, which consists of like rice cakes and some type of meat that's
Yeah.
either leftover or a deli meat. But I make all of Hunter's meals basically. So it's usually,
I would say 90% of what I eat is a bowl
Mhm.
with rice and
potatoes.
white potatoes.
Yeah.
We would probably eat sweet potatoes more if Taylor liked them, but she doesn't like them, so she doesn't really buy them. But like I
I
like
just have
sweet
to be in the
potatoes.
mood.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like sweet potatoes like have a little bit more nutrients than white potatoes, but like I don't care. I love white potatoes. So rice, white rice and or white potatoes,
Mhm.
chicken breast and or sirloin steak and or 93.7 ground beef, and maybe some lettuce or some veggies from our garden thrown in there,
Yeah.
and
Veggies as in,
Primal
like,
Kitchen sauce.
cucumber.
Primal Kitchen chicken dipping sauce, which I'm addicted to, and that's
Yeah.
where I get my fats from my avocado oil from.
Yes.
And the Primal Kitchen special sauce, which is actually equally as good. It's like Big Mac sauce.
Yeah.
The creamy sriracha, Primal Kitchen is good too.
Mhm.
That stuff, that's like my favorite sauce. Or sometimes if we're doing like chicken, I'll use Taylor's dad's barbecue sauce, which is like a vinegar barbecue sauce.
Yeah.
Trying to think. Or if we're doing like more of like an Asian flavor, like you just like take those same things and then like
But
you either
put
do
the
like
Primal
Mexican
Kitchen, like,
or
yum yum
Asian.
sauce. Yeah.
Or I do
Basically.
like the yum yum sauce, or I'll do like soy sauce.
Yeah. What is it that you do? So okay, one of Hunter's weird things that I think he
Oh, boy.
does is one of his weird bowls is that he gets these whey protein like Rice Krispie puffs,
Oh, yeah.
and you mix that sometimes like with protein powder, or you'll mix it with the cream of rice. You mix it with the cream,
It's
this
good,
taco
though.
flavor cream of rice, and I don't.
Okay, so
like them.
now if you go on Amazon and you look at like whey protein puffs, they basically have whey protein that is like Rice Krispies, but it's just protein.
It doesn't taste like Rice Krispies.
It doesn't taste like them, but if you mix it in with other stuff,
Mhm.
that's what the Pro Mix Rice Krispie bars are made out of, is these like puffed whey
Mhm.
protein crisp. And they don't have any carbs or
Yeah.
fat. They're just whey protein, but they're just, I don't know what they put in them. Probably bad for you. But
Yeah.
what I'll do sometimes is I'll just microwave cream of rice
Mhm.
and I'll mix in the puffs. So I get my protein and my carbs. It's like very fast digesting,
Mhm.
but it tastes good. It tastes like you have rice with like little like crunchies in it. So that's one of my slot bowls, I guess. But I would say honestly, like throughout the week, we'll go out to eat once or twice on the weekends sometimes. Like last night we had salmon and rice, which is really good. Salmon and like Taylor made like a homemade fried rice with veggies from the garden. That was really good. The night before we had ground beef and fried rice, or not fried rice, but just ground beef and rice.
And rice,
Yeah, with some Primal Kitchen sauce.
And potatoes.
And potatoes. I love rice and potatoes with a meat in the same bowl is like heaven to me. Like I could eat that every day because you mix it up and you get like the rice texture with the potato texture. And these are like,
wait, hang on. Did you grow up in a household where you had like the plastic plates that had separate little?
No.
Yeah. See, I grew up in a house where like as a kid, like we had like the plastic like plates. They had like I don't know, different characters and stuff on them. And they were like divided. So none of our food mixed. So like my one sister, like she cannot stand like food touching and it getting mixed together. She cannot stand it.
I was kind of like that when I was a kid. Like I would.
No, she's like that as an adult. Like she cannot stand it as an adult. Like
maybe there's some
she
like
can't mix. Like she can't she has to eat like one thing at a time too. Her husband's kind of that way too, as well.
Maybe this is like some like Freudian. Maybe there's some Freudian insight into this. But when I was a kid, I was very big. So when you'd have like a plate with like all your foods on it, I would have. So my favorite thing was always the bread, and so I would go veggies. I would go in order of like what I liked least.
Yeah.
So I'd always start with what I liked least. So I finished on the good thing. Whereas like some people like always want to start with the best thing. I would always go like, okay, I'm gonna eat the veggies first because that's like my least favorite, even though it's
Which
good.
that's good because that's the fiber, so it's gonna help you digest and like move everything.
I was definitely, the Stanford marshmallow experiment.
Yeah.
What was it?
No, you felt the marshmallows in
No,
your mouth.
no. That's Fluffy
That's
Bunny. That's
that was
Fluffy
like
Bunny.
a challenge
Yeah.
on social media.
No, there's this old Stanford experiment where they gave kids they said they could have one marshmallow now or they could have two marshmallows in like 15 minutes. And some of the kids took the marshmallow now and then some waited to have the two for 15 minutes. So you get one now or two in 15 minutes. The kids that waited to have the ones in 15 minutes, when they looked at them 30 years later, they were all more successful, made more money than the kids that took the instant gratification. So I was definitely a kid that was like, when I was younger, I could delay gratification just naturally a little bit more than probably most people when I was younger. Probably because I was raised, my parents were like just very hardworking and, very like structured and were always making us do activities and sports and stuff. But anyway, for my slop ball, that sounds like something my youngest brother, like that would be like a lingo that he would like the kids.
Yeah, that was.
My youngest brother's 13 years younger than me. So he has like a whole different
language.
It's true.
It is true.
Especially if you read fantasy books versus go on Snapchat. So Dina says for verbal fluency, working out increases lactic acid, which will boost BNF, and you will have a lot more mental clarity about 45 minutes after workout. Definitely true. And also too, if you want to retain something better, if you're trying to teach yourself, do the structured learning and then doing cardiovascular exercise after it, you actually remember it better. So if you go learn something and then go do exercise after, you'll actually like retain the information better. And there's studies around that, and my personal experience, that seems to work too. Actually, when I was getting my real estate license when I was 23 years old, what I would do is I would go to real estate class during the day, and then I would go run like 3 or 4 miles after to see if it worked. And I passed my real estate test. So it worked. Probably would have passed it anyway, but I know you're a firm believer of metformin. Can you talk about any pros or cons to running this, please? I think the pros for me is not so much about the blood sugar, because there's other things that do the blood sugar even better.
Gut health.
I think for me, it's just an inflammation and gut health thing. I still don't know that I get the gut health benefits. It seems to just keep your gut like bulletproof.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I'm sure there might be other things out there, but it just seems to help maintain gut motility and function better than a lot of other things. I would say the downside, there is like this whole like thought of like, I think it's like class 4, like mitochondria, like probably impairing a little bit of mitochondria function. And so maybe that's there. I don't know if that's a dose dependent thing. So like this 500 milligrams, do that compared to 2000 milligrams? Probably not, but that would be my easy pros and cons of it. I think I gave up on battling about metformin long ago because people just love to say it's stupid to take and whatever. And so I'm not trying to convince anybody of anything. I think I probably was like that when I was younger, because I was like, how do you not see the data? It's just like, I don't know. I just want to help people. And, like I'm always open to changing my opinions. Like the older I get, the more I'm like, I want to be as open to changing my opinions as possible based on like the best available data. But when we look at metformin, I think like something like ATX 304 to me is like a better version of metformin. And I think if you replace ATX 304 with metformin, you probably get a lot of those same benefits.
Yeah.
It's just expensive to do it at, 400 milligrams per day, which is what they've been running. They've run human trials with 400 and I think 1,000 milligrams. But in terms of metformin, like I think for strictly blood sugar issues, there's better stuff out there. You look at GLPs plus SGLT2s. I think from a blood sugar perspective, you don't need metformin in that case. And so maybe like I definitely would be one to say like maybe in the next few years I like phase out metformin. Maybe not. But I still use it. And so that's just my thoughts around it. Any advice for 3 fractured ribs and 7 stitches on the face, running BPC, TB, KPV, GHK, and Cardilax for 2 weeks daily? Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much everything there. Kind of like I mentioned a little bit earlier, some SS31 and some growth hormone or growth hormone peptide just to cover your bases on that. But yeah, 7 stitches in the face. I've had that happen before. So, oh, thank you, Dina. She says she loves my voice. It's one of those things. I think when you first start making content, you always are like self-conscious of your voice, and I'm not anymore, but definitely was when I was younger. Yeah, sound is a bit bass heavy. Probably my voice, because Taylor's I don't think sounds too bass heavy. Maybe it does. I've seen Abood. I think you're referring to Abood Bakri, the doctor, really smart guy. He says, talk about high dose melatonin dosages in acute situations, like 60 to 100 milligrams. Reaction to this? I think it's great. I've done up to 1 gram of melatonin. And I think I wouldn't do that all the time, but yeah, I think it can be very beneficial for people with chronic sleep issues or even in the C word instances, stuff like that. It can be very beneficial because of how strong of an antioxidant it is. What?
That's not where my mind went with the C word.
Oh.
I was like, what?
C word meaning for YouTube health censorship
Not the
purposes.
inappropriate word
Yeah,
that
not
people
when
call
usually
women.
when people say the C word. Yep, pay the rent. Currently running 5 milligrams daily to Tadalafil. Really like what I've heard about telmisartan. Do they work synergistically? Do I risk taking blood pressure? I think it depends on the person. I mean, I've used those before and I never got low blood pressure, but I would definitely not do like 80 milligrams of telmisartan. I'd probably start with 10 or 20, which is a pretty low dose. But yeah, I think you'd be okay with those. I stopped using telmisartan when I started using SGLT2s because my blood pressure was too low. And so I think if you're metabolically fit and you're doing Cialis and you're doing telmisartan and you're doing SGLT2s, that probably ends up being too much. But yeah, I would just play with it and see and just start with the lower dose. Frank says, how do I get as large and jacked as Agamemnon in the Odyssey? Test Primo and GH. Maybe a little sprinkle of VAR and you'll get as big as you want to. So Wendy says, any suggestion on lowering estrogen? 53 on TRT and progesterone. I'm not taking estrogen. I don't know that you necessarily want to lower estrogen. No. If there would be, I think on that regimen at 53, I don't know what would be causing estrogen to be too high. And so I would just ask why you would need to lower estrogen, because obviously if like your estrogen is high, I would just want to know, like, is there a medication that's doing that, or is body fat too high? Or like, what are your symptoms? Because like, you never want to just lower any natural hormones. Like, you don't want to just like cut off hormones. And so I would just say why. Typically, like if someone comes to me and asks why, like any suggestion on lower estrogen, to me, that's like any suggestion on getting more body fat.
Yeah. What is the reasoning behind?
Why would you want to do that? Because to me, that's a very not a good thing to do. But I'm not saying it's not needed in some cases. I'm just saying, to me, like off the rip, I'm just kind of like, why would you want to do that? I knew I liked you, Frank, because John Grisham is hands down favorite author of all time. I cannot put down John Grisham books. I've read every single one to my knowledge. I actually don't think I've read the nonfiction John Grisham books, which are The Innocent Man. I think he has another one too. John Grisham is like childhood hero of mine. I started reading his books when I was a teenager. And he just, you know what, the thing about John Grisham is just every single year, he just cranks them out and they're just as good as the next one, in my experience. And maybe I'm just a fanboy, but yeah, John Grisham, I think September, he's usually like September, October is when he comes out with his new ones. But I think there's something, if you're from the South, like what I love about John Grisham is that if you're from the South, he has this way of making fun of people from the South, but also doing it in a way that's like very loving because he's from the South as well. So he's like very good at critiquing culture of the South, but doing it in a way that doesn't come off as like condescending. And maybe he can do that because he's from the South. He's from Mississippi. So he's like very good at like critiquing it, but also like honoring it at the same time. And he just knows Southern, like Southeastern culture so well that he can do that, but he does it in a way that doesn't make you feel like he's like tearing it down. It's almost like it's like, I don't know. It's hard to explain, but he does a really good job of that. And then on top of that, he can write with the best of them, if not the best, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Histamine response with 250 micrograms of TERS, seeing that microdosing can help with mast cell response, but afraid to go higher. Tingling in back of throat for 15 after injection. I mean, I would just probably say give it a week or two if that's the first dose that you've done, and just let the body acclimate to it, because you really shouldn't have a histamine response unless you're just like really, some people are just like, they're in such a sympathetic driven state. They're just going to have a a histamine response to like any, you could like touch them with a finger and they're going to have a histamine response. And so I just give it a couple weeks, let it build up, and then you can kind of go up from there. But just don't try to escalate the dose too fast. Frank says he takes a lot of electrolytes and still gets muscle cramps in calves. Quads and calves will involuntary pulse, very active. What are my options? I would go up to 5 to 10 grams of taurine per day. And another thing too, I talked about earlier for a different reason, but to use topical magnesium because that also does help me with cramping as well. I'm someone that has struggled with cramps for a lot of my life. Joni says, read Relentless by K.H. Volk. I think I've seen that. Maybe I'll, I think we're going to go to Barnes & Noble this weekend. Maybe I'll cop that one. Yeah, Colleen says they call them romantasy. Not as much as romantasy as I am a fantasy, for sure. Taylor likes romantasy. I actually think the best insight into understanding the psychology of women is to read romance books. You will never understand a woman like you will if you read romance books.
Yeah.
Women will never tell you.
I had to be in the mood for romance. Like I'm kind of more so summertime. I don't know. Like right now I'm reading Love Letters to Whiskey, which I've put off reading, but it's really good.
Yeah.
But I normally read like mystery housewife thrillers.
Yeah.
Just housewives like
I think
drama.
I think for men to understand from a very young age, I wanted to do my best to like understand women. I think it's very important for me to have empathy to like understand how other people think. Like I'm constantly like every day, I think one of the things that like drives me to be better at is like understand people outside of my own shoes. Like how can I put myself in other people's shoes to like understand where they're coming from better? And what? I just don't do it for you. I just don't do a good enough job of that for you. Yeah.
I just wanted to mess with
you. And I think when you look at men, so don't take this the wrong way. I'm not saying this as a negative knock towards women, but women are not the best at telling people what they're actually thinking. Like men are really good at telling you what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas women, you have to like decipher, at least from a man's point of view.
Well, it's kind of like women aren't good sometimes expressing what they want, just like men are not good at listening.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that's fair. But a man, like women that can write romance novels, or even men that can write romance novels, I think women probably do a little bit better. A man can understand female psychology by reading romance novels. Whereas like if he asks a woman to tell him about female psychology, she's not going to do a good job. But he reads a romance novel because of the story, like he'll understand it a lot better than he would if he just asked a woman like, hey, tell me how women think. Like ask me the question, tell me how men think.
They don't listen.
No, just ask me like, how does a man's mind work?
How does a man's mind work?
He just wants to have food. He wants to have success, and he wants to like please others around him. Men are very.
I don't think every man wants to please others around them, but
yeah, there's some with like narcissistic personality disorders out there. But most men, they just want to be respected and honored and loved. I think most people just want to be respected, honored, and loved. I think men, though, they have like a short like way to, they just want to get there, you know. Whereas like women, there's more complexity to their psychology.
Well, would that be fair? Are like single focus.
Yes, very much so. Whereas women are like, they're much more empathetic. I think that's actually an interesting point to like having more estrogen in the brain actually gives women like extra sensory perception in a way that men don't understand. Like extra estradiol in the brain makes women more psychic or telepathic.
Okay.
Or intuitive.
Yeah.
If that's the more appropriate word. But what I'm saying is I think like extra estradiol in the brain makes women more perceptive of non-sensory things around them. Anyway, I don't know how I started talking about that. People up higher like, shut up. Zyonic says, thank you for the masterclass videos. You are very welcome. That is, I think for me, it's like the highest realized form of content creation for the way that I like to do it. And it's good to know that there's at least some people out there that appreciate that as well. So very helpful for me. So thank you for that. Thinking about an Epitalon 1 milligram PM and Penelon 1 milligram AM, concurrent protocol for 20 days. Should dosing be adjusted higher for either for best results? No, I would start there. I really wouldn't push those higher than 2 milligrams per day. So I would start there and see how you feel. And you can run that cycle a couple times per year. Seems to be the best protocol that we know now. Maybe that will evolve into the future. Shinna says, any PEP protocol for vertigo? So many women around me currently are developing it lately. I don't care if it's for the rant booster, but I don't. Vertigo is such a tough one because it's kind of like migraines. Like it's just there could be very multiple causes
Yeah.
of it. I will say for tinnitus, and I think it would probably translate to vertigo as well. I have heard that the bioregulator Cerluten, Cerluten, is the oral bioregulator, the Cavinson one, and then also the injectable version of that, which is Cortigen. And I would do both of those together. Cortigen, 2 milligrams a day, 2 caps of Cerluten, and then throw in some SS31 for good measure and see how that does. Maybe it won't fix it, but that would be my best attempt at that. Good question, Shanna. So the thyroid for men on TRT, here's what happens when you're on TRT, whether you're a man or a woman, is the exogenous testosterone being super physiological, which is not super physiological, it's just higher than what you would normally be because it's optimized. And what that does is it actually, the simplest way to say it is it puts extra demand on the thyroid to crank out more thyroid hormone. And so typically what you will see over time is like as a man's testosterone kind of trends up and then will level out, his thyroid output will like kind of, can't see anything, kind of start to like slow down a little bit. So it's not going to fall off a cliff. But really smart doctors will tell you that TRT is always best supported by some thyroid support. Could be the thyroid bioregulator, could be desiccated thyroid, but in my experience, it works really well for that. And so is it 100% necessary? No, like plenty of men do fine without it. But if we're talking about optimization, in my opinion, is always the best thing to do. A smart doctor would say like, yeah, we want to do that in conjunction with TRT. Yes, Dina, magnesium is very important. It's one of those things like I'm a huge magnesium person. Don't go to bed without it. Donnie says, any thyroid health advice? I'm thinking iodine. Selenium, you do a couple, 200 micrograms of selenium per day. I do that. I've gone back and forth with iodine. I'm not really deficient in it, but I think it's not bad to supplement with. But I think of the thyroid hierarchy is like thyrogen, which is the bioregulator, desiccated thyroid, and then synthetic T3 or T4, T3 and or T4. 90% of people will do fine with the thyrogen or the desiccated thyroid. And then for extreme cases like a thyroidectomy, you could use the synthetic. And I realize that some people need that, but that's kind of my hierarchy. Tessa Ipa didn't increase IGF levels at 42 years old. Would HGH or cycles of IGF-R3 be the next step? Typically, yes, but also too, I would say like IGF is not always the best proxy of if it's working or not, because IGF can fluctuate throughout the day and it can be lower depending on the sleep you had the night before or whatever. And so it correlates, yes, but it's not always the best proxy. So just take it with a grain of salt. Like you can't always it doesn't track linearly with the dosage of secretagogues or the exogenous use of growth hormone the way that testosterone does. And so it's not always the best proxy. The best proxy is like effects in your life. Let's see. Taylor, the GHK that you have recommended is labeled as a transdermal, not topical. So what would you suggest be the dose for the face?
I would say like 2 to 3 drops for the face.
Yeah.
Just enough to coat the face. You don't have to go crazy with it.
Best Melantan protocol for summertime for a nice tan daily. Okay. Yeah. If you're going to do it daily and you're outside, you can do like 100, 200 micrograms per day. Usually what I do, especially if like we're out in the sun. It's been raining all week, so I haven't had to use any. And now I'm going to lose my tan from being at the beach. Oh, well. What do you think about Sloop since the safety data is very thin? Anything else you recommend similar to SLU? You could use ATX. It's a different molecule, different mechanism, but I think practically the results are as good. But yeah, I like Sloop. I've used it. I don't use it all the time because I don't need to, but I think it's good. Like it's definitely a good compound to use. I just don't do the higher doses, but to each their own. Taylor, thoughts on hair loss for low iron and low ferritin? I'm on an iron supplement every other day with vitamin C and lactoferrin.
Are we using testosterone? I can't remember.
Tina, I think so. I think she had mentioned that before. So
I would say testosterone, desiccated thyroid.
Yeah, sometimes too, the low iron can be a nutrient absorption issue.
Yeah.
So I always check for like leaky gut when I see
Mhm.
that. And also too, I don't know in this case with Dina, but with
Calorie.
heavy periods, sometimes that can
Yeah,
do
that
it as
just
well.
happened if it been plus, Dina's the one that was thinking about getting the
Hysterectomy.
DNC.
Oh no, the DNC.
The
That was
DNC done. Which tells me that they're probably having heavy menstrual cycles. This is me just guessing because I don't know your age, but you could potentially up the testosterone and progesterone.
yeah.
Because the progesterone is going to help with heavy bleeding. So
Yeah.
trying to piece it together, not knowing like a full
Yeah.
case evaluation.
Is it important to run HCG or gonadorelin while on Cypionate? Does HCG or gonadorelin have any estrogen response? Well aromatized, so you probably have a little bit higher estrogen, but in my experience, not bad as long as you're metabolically healthy. Is important. I mean, depends on if fertility is an issue. If it is, you definitely want to run it. If it's not, I say just do what feels best. Some guys need it, some guys don't. If it weren't for fertility, I don't need HCG. Like I would not use HCG if I was not attempting to be fertile right now. But some guys need it and they feel like they need it for testicular fullness, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with it, but that's my thought. Shinna says, how do we learn what IGF is? You can just make sure it's on your blood work. So if you order your own blood work, just make sure it's got an IGF panel on there. Penelon for verbal fluency. Yes, that would absolutely help too. Working on doing that bioregulating on the brain. Nupep, great too. Rick says, lost a crap ton of weight, RX TERS to Retta, but stalled. Blood was showing primary hypo, started TRT yesterday. Finally pulled the trigger and first shot hit the euphoria energy. Was amazing. There you go. I mean, you definitely have a honeymoon phase if you're doing TRT, right? But it's also too, it's a honeymoon phase, but then you start to default to feeling great. And then you're like, well, why doesn't everyone feel like this? And so like, do I wake up in the morning now and think like, I'm on TRT and I'm in euphoria? No, but I feel darn good most days. Like I feel like great most days when I get up in the morning. And so welcome to the other side, Rick. You have now exited the matrix. You took the red pill. Yes, Dina says HIT is very important for women for fat loss. Agreed. Peptides that help with nasal polyps. I don't know. Maybe if you did some intranasal BPC and TB500, I don't know if that would help.
Yeah, or intranasal KPV.
Yeah, that intranasal KPV is actually efficacious for clearing candida out of the brain.
Yeah.
But if it's a polyp in response to inflammation, maybe that will help too. So yeah, I've heard tesofensine avoided with methylene blue. I would definitely avoid that. So that's a good point, Dina, about the avoiding with methylene blue. Does human and reverse biological age, and is it safe to take in my 40s? Definitely safe to take in your 40s. I think it's safe to take any time. Does it reverse biological age? I mean, who knows? Maybe, maybe not. Shinna says, does a coffee talk get added to your AI Q&A? I love the AI Hunter. I get so many answers from it. Yes, it does, but I just have to do it in batches. So it doesn't like auto. Maybe one day I'll figure out like a way for like the auto scrape, but right now it's just like every couple of weeks I'm batching it in there and doing it. So it's a lot of work, but I like it and I know it provides value to people. Alonzo says, hurt my back this morning. I have BPC and TB500 on deck. Where's the best place to inject? I would say, I mean, if it's your lower back, you just kind of like try to grab some skin there and have a friend or partner do it and just grab the skin and then slide it in sideways. So you don't want to like inject at a 90-degree angle. Just pinch some skin, slide it in at a 45 or a 30-degree angle, and you'll be good. Wendy says, what would you suggest in place of enclomiphene? Husband has been taking TRT for several months and his T didn't respond until he added enclomiphene. You might not have been taking, Wendy, I don't know his dose, but that sounds like to me the classic doctor gave you 100 milligrams per week of testosterone, which is too low. Thus, it didn't bump it. But you could use HCG or HMG in place of enclomiphene and get the same effect for the most part. Yeah. Yes, for a blood test, do LCMS. You want to make sure your hormones are LCMS. Liquid chromatography mass spectrometry. I'm on Retta and haven't lost a pound. Also do SS31 and NAD. My testosterone has always been in the tank. Is this preventing me from losing weight? Yes, absolutely. Please. And that's where too, it's like, could you take 50 milligrams a week of retatrutide and potentially lose weight? Yeah, but it's never going to work as good if you're with testosterone. I don't recommend 50 milligrams per week. What I'm saying is that like you can take all the Retta in the world, but if your hormones in the tank, your body's going to have a very, very hard time getting fat off because the hormones are not optimized. For the HCG gyno question, add 30 milligrams of zinc per day. If you aren't already supplementing the zinc, the natural AI, which is true, and I like zinc supplementation. It's not like a aromatase inhibitor the way anastrozole is, but it will help reduce the expression of visceral fat, and it will help clear the body of some of those like negative inflammatory things that will cause what we think is high estrogen. Also 1 milligram of copper per 10 milligrams of zinc as well. Good stuff. Yes, vitamin B1 for fibromyalgia too. Thiamine, vitamin B1, very important for fibromyalgia. Sean says, tell us about your vacation. We were in Italy for 2 weeks. We actually took Taylor's parents with us. So that was a dream come true for them because Taylor's mom is Italian, in air quotes. She's of an Italian descent.
Her grandfather was.
Yes, I know. I'm just teasing. But yeah, it was awesome.
She doesn't look Italian.
It's very cool. I was talking to Taylor this morning, like travel is the greatest threat to ignorance, as Mark Twain said. And it's so cool. We love where we live. I love the United States. I love living here. I love our home. I love everything about it. But I love traveling because it just gives you perspective on the world that you cannot get otherwise from all the books and all the movies and stuff. And I love it for that reason. And for me, because of the history nerd in me, it was so cool because we got to go to see the Colosseum, which was like, that was so cool for me. I was just like a little kid walking around there and seeing some of the stuff there. So it was very, very fun. I had a blast. And
would you say that was your favorite day?
Yeah, probably. We also got to go on a boat. And so we got to like see some of like the islands or the beaches on Sardinia where you can't get to with a car. Like you have to take a boat there. And that was really cool too, because you just see like how the beauty, how uncontaminated things are there relative to like
so clean.
How environmentally contaminated things are here in the United States. And so that was really cool. But I think for me, the nerd inside of me, we got to see the Vatican and the Colosseum, and some of that was really cool. What?
Those are your favorites?
What do you mean? My favorite of the vacation?
Yeah.
Well, I hadn't seen those before.
Yeah.
So that was, I would think, it was more memorable for, like, I'll remember that, of being at those places.
Yeah.
But yeah, I loved it all. Like, it was all awesome. But what?
I say for me would be the mall.
Oh, the mall in Rome.
No, I'm just kidding. No, the beaches were beautiful, but there's like a mall in Rome that it's like a 4-story mall, and it's just like all different designer shops.
Yeah.
And what I figured out, it was also like last season's pieces, so they're a little bit cheaper, but at that point
it's kind of like an outlet mall for luxury goods.
Yeah.
So like the way we have outlet malls here in the States,
was just like kind of like designer, high-end designers.
The discount, quote unquote discount, it's not really discounted, but like
compared. No, it was.
Well, that's what
cheaper than going
than going to the actual store.
Going to the actual store.
Yeah. Which
I figured that out after I had already gone to those stores, and by the time we got to the mall, my shopping budget was done. So I got cut off.
Yep. Going to start TRT soon. 125 milligram test set broken down 3 times per week. Good starting point. I'm not your doctor. I think you should start at 200 milligrams of testosterone per week. And if you want to cut down the dose from there, cut down the dose. This whole like starting at 100 milligrams, I'm not saying it's like the worst thing in the world, but you're just like, if your total testosterone is 600, in my experience, like 100 milligrams is just going to put you at 600. And so why not take 200 milligrams? And then if you feel like it's too strong, you can always walk it back down. But if you do 200 milligrams broken up into 3 shots per week or 4 shots per week, I think you're going to feel a lot better. And that's what I do. I'm not saying that everyone needs a dose that high, but to me, that's like the standard therapeutic dose. And so I don't know where this whole, it's like a badge of honor that the lower you can do a testosterone dose, like your body needs what it needs. Like if you need 200 milligrams, you need 200 milligrams. And so the reason I don't say start that low is because a lot of people will do 125 milligrams per week and they don't really feel anything different at all. And you're just like replacing what it was to begin with. And so you're shutting off your natural production to get the same levels that you were before, which are potentially not therapeutic. And so that's my response. I mean, you got to talk with your doctor and do what's best for you, but that's my philosophy around it. Shinna says, for husband asking what would happen on TRT if no MP thyroid, any signs we should look for? Basically, you will probably get tired in the early afternoon.
Yeah, at 3 o'clock, like kind of crash wanting to eat like another cup of coffee or like an energy drink or wanting to take a nap.
And then obviously the best proxy is to look at your free T3 hormone. And usually I like to see that number like between 4 and 5, upper 3s for sure. But if it's like sitting in like the 2 7s or the 3 2s, probably can benefit from being higher, closer to 4 or between 4 and 5. Donnie says 30 gauge needle for cypionate grapeseed, only do 12 units, but not a problem for me. Not like a peptide, not a huge problem. Maybe grapeseed is thinner. I mean, grapeseed's a little bit thicker than MCT oil, but probably thinner than like cottonseed oil, which hopefully your pharmacy's not making it in cottonseed oil. But anyway, grapeseed oil is totally fine. That's what I use in my pharma version. Opinions on Sloop 915, Sloop 332. I don't know where to get Sloop 915, and I wouldn't say it on air anyway, but I haven't used it, so I can't really comment on it, but it does seem to be more selective for the heart in terms of improving heart health than Sloop 332. But again, that's just in literature, and so do we know how that plays out in the real world? I don't know. And I haven't heard from enough people using it to say if there's any difference. Cerebral Eliasin for neurite growth and neuroplasticity? Yeah, for sure. I think everyone could stand to benefit from at least 1 or 2 cycles of Cerebral Eliasin per year for that very reason. I tried my first dose of CJC and IPA and half dose of Ceramorelin and received all the symptoms of anaphylactic shock. I took 1 dose of CJC IPA, broke out in hives, and 5 days later took half dose of Ceramorelin and had symptoms of anaphylactic shock. What causes these symptoms? I think it's just an immune system thing. It's hard to say why some people get it and some people don't, but that's why I always tell people, just so the bad issues almost always come from the growth hormone releasing hormones, which is CJC and Ceramorelin. If you would have just started Ipamorelin in isolation, which is a GHRP, the immune response to those are usually very, very lesser or much less than the GHRHs. And so that's why I like Ipamorelin, or even if you wanted to start with MK777. I have not heard one person yet that took oral MK777 and had an immune response like this, although I took MK77 and I got my IGF tested the next morning, and 10 milligrams of MK777 put my IGF at 311. So take for that what you will. Does that mean it works? I don't know. But, that's just the data point that I have. But it's usually the immune stuff is from the GHRHs. And so I would just not do those, and potentially what I recommend, which is to just start Ipamorelin by itself first if you are new to the class of growth hormone agonists or secretagogues. After 2 vials of SS31 success, 3rd vial bad reaction, hives, racing heart, pounding, etc. Same backwater. I threw that brand new bottle away as a common reaction with SS31. No. So, I mean, you can get some headaches with it, but I don't know if that actually would have been SS31. I mean, maybe it was, and maybe that was how your body responded, but no. That picky sister is definitely not the cool one. Slop balls for the win.
It's definitely not. No, I'm just kidding.
Started T4 and I've gained 5 pounds in 3 weeks. I'm about to start T3, also on orforglipron, and started 2 weeks ago. I don't, Catherine, know why, but I would say to be on desiccated thyroid instead of those, because you can just really like put yourself out of whack trying to do the T3, T4 balance.
Yep.
And so
be harsh on the hair too.
Yeah. Just be aware, and then
and maybe if you can't get the desiccated thyroid, like run the thyroid bioregulator instead.
Yeah.
Would not touch either one of those.
If one gets tush acne, which I'm guessing is acne on your behind, what's the quickest way to clear it up? Use a retinol.
Not necessarily. I would use, honestly, I would just inject LL37 into that area, especially like the glute areas, and be thicker. And then ivermectin, horse paste is going to help as well too. Salicylic acid.
Yeah. Have you any experience with Omnitrip HEH? How's it stack up against the ones you mentioned? I think Omnitrip is good. It's just not as strong. So it's like the easiest one to probably get from a compounding pharmacy in the US, but it's the cheapest and easiest way to get prescription in my experience. So it's good. Better than nothing for sure. She says she was on mast cell reaction to desiccated thyroid. Yeah, so I don't know. I would say probably if you're having a mast cell reaction to desiccated thyroid, probably fix something with the immune system first and potentially use Thyrogen, which is the thyroid bioregulator.
Thyroid bioregulator,
Selenium.
LL37, selenium.
Yeah.
Maybe some thymosin.
32-year-old female with PCOS, eat clean plus exercise, best protocol with hair loss despite DHT blocker plus methylated supplements, fibromyalgia, brain fog.
Why are we on DHT?
Okay, so
no THT.
Blocking DHT is not going to help any of those things.
Nope.
My recommendation: get on testosterone.
I would get on
microdose.
Injectable testosterone.
Yeah.
Do not use a cream.
Microdose injectable testosterone. Your hair loss is probably from the Retta. Yep. And potentially just being nutrient deficient and starved out.
Metabolism.
Yeah. This could probably be like 80% fixed by injectable testosterone and 200 milligrams of progesterone a night.
And I would also switch to tirzepatide versus retatrutide.
Yeah.
Because tirzepatide is going to be a little bit better for dealing with inflammatory stuff such as like PCOS.
Yeah, and then also get on some SS31 and then get on Farxiga.
Yeah.
And
also too, like you got to remember too, like with like PCOS, it's not because of like high levels of testosterone. It's an insulin.
So silly.
Insulin resistance issue.
Yeah. And see, this is the thing
and this
too.
is why they've renamed it.
Yeah, and she said eat clean and exercise. Someone can actually look very metabolically healthy and actually be eating clean and exercising.
Oh, progesterone. We didn't even mention progesterone.
No, that's what I said. I said 80% of this could be fixed by TRT and progesterone.
Yeah.
But see, a lot of women, they're not actually fat, and then they get PCOS because their cortisol is so high because they don't have progesterone, because then they're stressed out all the time, and then they turn into.
It's also like luteal phase defect, where the body does not produce enough progesterone during that luteal phase. Yeah. So if I were you, I would get your progesterone checked 7 days post ovulation. And if it's under,
my guess is it would probably be like 6 in this case.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess it's probably like a 6 or 7. And if it's under 15, progesterone deficiency.
Yeah.
But 7 days post ovulation is key there.
Yeah, 1 gram of melatonin. The only way to actually do that is to get raw melatonin bulk powder, and then you just put it in your gums. But yeah, I've done that high, and it was good. Worked for me. I don't need to do it all the time, but you can do it. What about the protein cheese puffs?
Can you put that in the chat?
Okay, there's like, where do I get
do I get those?
Chloe, for an old ranker injury that has ongoing pain. Yeah, for sure. I think that could be good. What?
Nothing.
My estrogen quadrupled from my last labs to over 400. Wendy, I don't know if that's your estrogen total or your estradiol level.
Yeah.
Because that wouldn't be high if it was estrogens total, but if it's estradiol, that would be pretty high.
Yeah. And spotting if you have recently added started supplementing with estradiol, like that is one of the side effects, especially depending on how old you are, if you are postmenopausal, and how long you've been postmenopausal. Well, no, you said you were 52, so you're probably not postmenopausal. Anyways, that is one of the side effects that, like, the spotting and cramping can happen when introducing estrogen in, but at 52, might not need it. If you're I don't know if you're supplementing with estrogen, you might not need it. You might be converting enough testosterone to where you don't need the estrogen. Does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
Yeah. Sean says physical therapy can help vertigo. That's probably true. I'm sure there's like some sort of like misalignment too, whether it's spinal or whatever, that can help fix it. Shanna says, have obese client on Reddit, lost 80 pounds so far. Wants TRT, but I told him until his body is safely at 230, 235. Too scared of issues with my male clients. Friends are heavier. I mean, it's kind of like a chicken or the egg. I think the person was that heavy for a reason to begin with. And if they're not going to do it, TRT is not going to help. I mean, they're not going to exercise and stuff. But if they're going to if they're going to commit to it, I think TRT could be good. But I just want Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Well, yeah. He definitely didn't commit to exercising and eating cleaner. But, I think it's better to have it than to not have it, but I get the concern because it's like, well,
Yeah.
is this person just gonna think that they're gonna inject testosterone, they can continue to
Yeah.
eat cheese puffs, not really gonna do that
I
much.
want cheese puffs.
Those, ones from Lesser Evil, they've got those cheese puffs with avocado oil and
Yeah.
non-GMO corn, but it's still not Cheetos.
No. It's not.
Also very hungry. I'm only on 1 milligrams of orforglipron. Yeah, that's basically like a non-dose. So you're gonna have to get to
Yeah.
like 12 milligrams of orforglipron daily to actually feel anything. But also dealing with bloating and constipation. 215 protein, 160 carbs, 32 grams of fat, plus 100 calories of ketones. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you there because if you get bloating and
Those fats
constipation,
are
it's probably a
fats
little
are
too
kinda
low.
low,
Yeah.
but I don't know if you're in a cut. Are you in a cut? I feel like you might be in a cut. They're that.
I don't know where to get copper. Probably get it on Amazon as a supplement. IGF-1 went from 94 to 123 after 6 weeks of IPA CJC. Curious on how I can keep this level up when taking 6 to 8 weeks off as recommended. I mean, it's not really good. If your IGF was only 94, like coming off is you're just, and honestly, that's like a marginal bump at best. But it tracks with peptides, and that's why I would recommend HGH to get that number into
Yeah.
like the 250s. So there's really no answer to try to keep it high
Yeah.
without support. It's just one of those things like you're just not going to be able to produce it as the older you get. Yeah. This is the common thing.
Mhm.
PCPs put you on 100 milligrams of test every 2 weeks. Good luck feeling worse than you started. Allergic reactions to CJC, Tessa, Sermorelin, IPA, I'm good. Took MK777, great sleep, strength gains, no negative effects. There you go.
Yep.
Point proven that the GHRPs are much less immuno responsive.
Mhm.
And then finally, the last one, we made it. 63 female and have the FOXO4 ready to reconstitute. I'm nervous about to use healthy on HRT.
Mhm.
I mean, like I would not do it during a phase where you're like trying to exercise heavily or
Yeah.
if you're
Or
like
you're
if
gonna
you're
be
in
traveling.
yeah, like
Don't
this
do
is like
that.
okay, I'm going to take 2 weeks and I'm just going to be chilled out. Like I'm not going to be stressed. I'm not going to be stressed from work. I'm not going to be trying to train hard. And I'm just do 1 milligram at night before bed. And I'm going to do that for 10 days in a row. And I'm probably going to get a little bit of flu-like symptoms, and that's okay. And you'll get over it, and then you'll be good to go.
Yeah.
And then your hair, scale. What I noticed is like it did make an improvement in my like hair and nails and skin from doing the FOXO4.
Yeah.
It just seems to have like a little bit better like complexion and stuff when I've run it. But then also too, you just feel better. Everything just kind of feels like you did a
Yeah.
detox. Like
And you
you're
might
cleaned
not
out.
have like I know like when I did it, like I just felt kind of like nasally. I had more of a sinus like
I didn't really get sick at all.
cold.
Maybe I was kind of like tired.
You're just tired.
Yeah, like how you
You're
feel
tired.
tired before you get sick. Like there's that feeling
It
of
was
like
that
you're
kind of
about to get
feeling.
sick. That's kind of how I felt, but I
Yeah.
never got sick. But some people get full on like the flu. So,
Yeah.
definitely can happen as you are cleansing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that is it, or at least all I see. So thank you guys. Another amazing Saturday coffee talk. We appreciate you. We love you. As always, you know where to find us if you want to be in the private group and do live calls where you can actually come on live and talk to us, and then also private messages. Check out the Axion Collective. But just in closing, thank you guys so much. We're so blessed to get to do this. The fact that I get to come on Saturday morning and hang out with you guys, talk about these things, and have actually people interested in listening is truly a dream come true for me. So thank you guys. Whatever it is, or whatever shape or form fashion is, you support us. Thank you so much. And please know that that does not go unnoticed without you guys.
Yeah.
We don't exist. So stay tuned. I don't know exactly when we'll be back for the next one. We'll have to see. Probably not next weekend. Maybe the weekend after that. Maybe not. But we'll be back at least in 2 or 3 weeks. So as always, thank you guys. We love you, and we will see you in the next one.
Thanks, guys.
Peace.